Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 611 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Today, recording day is Thursday?
Friday.
No, or Friday, yes.
Yeah,
Friday, March
6/12.
Friday, March 28th, 2025. And this is episode 612 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. I went from the notes.
That's fair enough.
There we go. Oh, wow. They changed right in front of me. Oh, wow. How cool is that? All right. A big thank you goes to our podcast funding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. We have a really packed show for you today because a lot happened, especially if we want to try to keep it under 4 hours. So, Mr. Grizzly, a lot happened
yesterday.
Oh my God. Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today, sir?
This morning, it's so far so good. Yesterday morning started off good, and then post Lola walk and back was killing me. Lie down on the couch on the TENS machine, and then a wave of despair and loneliness and emptiness and worthlessness just overtook me, and it had me in its grip until around 6 o'clock when I just got up, took a shower, and I had to get out. I had taken Lola for a walk prior to that, and when I got back, it was like, okay, let's shower and go out, get out, go see a human being, go talk to somebody. And I think it was because I had spent so much time in solitude. This has been a bad week for me. Just too much solitude and not enough FaceTime with real human beings. Wednesday night I was out, and that was good. And tonight I have some friends coming over. We're having just a little get together. So yeah, tonight will be good. Tomorrow I'm sure I'll feel great. This morning I'm feeling much better than I did yesterday. Yesterday was just a bad day. It happens. Regretfully, it happens. I'm fortunately, in a very strange and weird way, fortunately, because I am unemployed, I can take the time to recover as opposed to trying to muscle through in the workplace when you're a mess. And I've done that for decades, right? But now I'm just, okay, I need to lie down. You can't do that at work. You have to keep pushing through, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting. So.
It is.
But solitude isn't bad. Just sometimes too much solitude is bad.
Too much of a good thing's like not enough, right?
Yes.
It's the dose.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that today is feeling like a better day, because additional physical pain that you don't need on top of that is just...
Yeah. I just took on a leave a few minutes ago, so hopefully the muscles will relax a bit and not feel the pain that I've been feeling for the last 2 days. So. We'll see. We'll see.
Right.
Positive attitude, fingers crossed. Let's move forward.
Absolutely. Before we get in on it today, want to celebrate, wish, I believe the greeting is Eid Mubarak.
Yes.
So Eid al-Fitr is approaching. I'm not sure exactly. I'm seeing here dates from Saturday, March 29th to Tuesday, April 1st. So I'm not sure if that depends on time zones where you are, or if it's just a multi-day celebration or that type of thing, or where you are in the world. But for everybody who will be celebrating the end of Ramadan with, I believe it is a nice big feast, and the biggest and the most celebratory of the feasts, given it's the end of a long period of fasting. So, well, fasting during the day, of course, right? They're not
Sun up
fasting
to
the entire
sundown.
period totally. It's just during the day.
It's fortunate when if you're if you live in Canada during the winter if it's Ramadan because
Yes.
your fast is sun up to sundown. Now, if you live in the north and it's summertime, you have to break the fast because if you're Muslim and you live in Yellowknife and it's July, you wouldn't eat for weeks.
Yep.
So you have to go by. I think in instances like that, somebody told me they go by the
calendar at
clock.
Mecca, I guess.
Yes, at Mecca. Yeah, they go by the Mecca calendar. So
Yeah.
sunrise to sunset, as it is in Mecca, which makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah.
Because when it began as a religion or a belief or whatever, a following, whatever you want to call it, each individual has their own faith. When it began, the idea of living in northern Canada wasn't a thing because northern Canada wasn't known to those folks, right?
Right.
And they also weren't well aware of how the sun would rise and set at different times, and because mostly equatorial, the sunset and rise doesn't change from winter,
Right.
right? So
Right. Exactly. So yeah, but now that we travel more and we're a more interconnected world, you got to adapt. You have to find your ways. But yes, happy end of Ramadan to everybody who will be celebrating. I hope that your celebrations are joyous and filled with love and laughter, and good times and happy memories will be made.
break out the champagne. No, don't do that.
No.
It's not a thing. Not a thing in Islam.
And bacon wrapped scallops. No.
Yeah, no.
No, don't do that. If you are invited, bring a thoughtful dish.
Maybe use the Googler.
Yes, maybe.
If you're not Muslim and you get invited to the party, use the Googler.
Yes. All right. All right. A couple of tidbits before we get in, because we're going to be talking. We've been talking a lot about premiers playing a big role in the selection, and yesterday was a bit of a day for Wab Canoe. One, because he created a little bit of contrast with his reaction to what has been going on in the news of late, which is a refreshing change, I would have to say. He posted, oops, I do not know where it went. That is really funny. Do you have it, Mr. Grizzly?
What's that?
In the notes, the Wab Canoe creates contrast.
Yeah, hearing Wab Canoe say he supports whatever it takes to protect workers in other provinces, auto workers, farmers, fishers, is quite a contrast to Daniel Smith, who seems to think the only industry worth fighting for is energy.
Mm-hmm.
Although I would switch that word from energy to oil because she doesn't seem to give a shit about wind energy or solar
not
energy.
at all. She's decimated the industry there.
Right? So, yeah, I'd change. It's like this is every word of that tweet I agree with the exception of the word energy. It should be oil because, solar and wind, and she decimated it. So it's not energy to her, it's oil and nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, that was a little bit of...
My God, that's a good cup of coffee. Sorry, it's just really good this morning. It's a damn fine cup of coffee, if I do say so. You ever have? Well, I don't. You don't drink coffee, but I'm sure our coffee drinkers can identify. Sorry, my brain is all over the place. But when the coffee is so good, you have to tell people. That's how good this coffee is this morning. I just got the perfect blend. Sorry.
All right.
ADHD. Mine's all over the place.
So this is a tweet from someone who goes by. I saw that it was a tweet by someone who goes by Mimi.
Mimi probably, yeah.
Yeah, on the jitter, who had from Edmonton, but who has a little bit of Wob Canoe envy because he's been saying and doing the right things as opposed to premiers or not. Now, it was another big day for Mr. Canoe, but in a whole other sense. Mr. Cruz, I don't know if that tweet
I have
will
it here. So
go up.
you want me to? Yeah, I can post that.
Yes, so that people can see it.
Just give me a second here. And I can post that on the screen for people to see. And this, of course, from Dennis Ward. This is Premier Wob Canoe says he spoke with Ashley. Now, I hope I get this. Is it Shingoose?
Yes.
It is Shingoose. I wasn't sure if it was Shingoose or Shingoose. Premier Wob Canoe says he spoke with Ashley Shingoose parents briefly and says, I promise you that we're going to search the Brady landfill for your daughter. I cannot promise you that we will bring her home, but I promise you that we are going to try.
And that relates, thanks to APTN here, by Tyre Whittle. Winnipeg police said to identify Mashkodi Bizihiki Ilkwe, or Buffalo Woman, as Ashley Shingoose. So we had reported a little bit earlier that they had identified the name, right? Because the identity was unknown. But according to this, of course, this story contains details that may be triggering. Ashley Shingoose from St. Teresa Point First Nation is Mashkodi Bizihi Ikwe, or Buffalo Woman, APTN News has learned. Winnipeg police have announced a press conference for Wednesday to reveal more details. Now, this was on March 25th, so the press conference has taken place already. To reveal more details, multiple sources would only confirm her name. A spokesperson for the Manitoba government confirmed Tuesday night that Premier Wob Canoe will be in attendance. Shingoose, 31, was last seen in downtown Winnipeg near the Salvation Army on March 11th, 2022. She is one of 4 First Nations women murdered by, we will not mention his name, in the spring of 2022. He was sentenced to life in prison for 4 first-degree murder convictions in the deaths of Rebecca Comtois, 24, Morgan Harris, age 39, Mercedes Myron, age 26, and Shingoose. On May 9th, 2024, during court proceedings, it was revealed that Shingoose's DNA had been found on a cigarette butt in the murderer's suburban Winnipeg apartment. At the time, her parents, Teresa and Albert Shingoose, attended proceedings. On July 11th, when Chief Justice Glenn Royale gave his oral verdict, the Shingoose family didn't attend court. Instead, they participated in a Sundance ceremony on the outskirts of the city. On August 26th, Albert was present for the written decision and sentencing. Back in July 2024, APTN News visited the Shingoose family in their home in St. Teresa Point, a flying community 465 kilometers northeast of Winnipeg. At the time, Albert had already believed his daughter was Buffalo Woman, even though in January 2023 his family had been tested for DNA, and police later announced Shingoose was not Buffalo Woman. Albert told APTN the investigators on Ashley's case contacted him and said once the trial was finished, they had a plan. What they were saying to me, quote, "We are not giving up yet," Albert said. He added that police told him they planned to go back to the person who was convicted for this and ask him questions. If he really had seen her or if they know that he's her killer or whatnot. That's what they were going to try and find out. The Winnipeg police would not confirm or deny what Albert said of his conversation with the 2 investigators on his daughter's case at the time, but sources have confirmed this happened. APTN has reached out to the Shingoose family, but they have not responded. On March 17th, the province announced that remains found at a private landfill north of the city were those of Myron. Harris's remains were identified on March 7th. The partial remains of Comtois were found in a garbage bin near the murderer's residence on May 16th, 2022. Police commenced a search at the city-owned Brady Brady Road landfill on June 2nd, 2022, and recovered additional human remains of Comtois on June 14th. Buffalo Woman is believed to have been his first
victim.
I hate to say the word victim.
What other word can you use there?
Target.
Target. Yeah, but then you dehumanize her by saying target.
I know, but it's.
Yeah, I know. I hear you.
Right?
I hear you.
She's not a victim, but she was victimized.
Victimized.
Right. So yeah, I just there are times the word victim. Nobody expects to go to somebody's house and then end up in a landfill, right?
No, definitely not.
So it's not, victims like a plane crash or something, right? When somebody actually takes your life, there needs to be like another word. And I don't know what it is.
There probably is a legal term. I just can't think of it at the moment.
The assailed or something.
If anybody in the chat can jog our memory, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
There definitely is a term, but I can't. It's not on the top of mind right now. I don't know why. I just can't think of it.
Yeah. So again, there's a reason why Mr. Canoe is still the most appreciated premier in the nation, and according to Angus Reid's most recent data, because they're the ones that seem to do this every month, the three preferred premiers in the country at the moment are Mr. Canoe, NDP, Mr. Fury, Liberal, who's stepping down, and Madame Holt, Liberal, New Brunswick. Just saying. I bet you Doug Ford's really glad he went when he did, eh? The mood doesn't seem to be too pro-conservative at the moment. Like I said, that guy's got a survival instinct.
Yes, he does.
All right. One last note for you. And of course, sorry, forgot to say, our thoughts and our care and wishes for healing go to the family of Ashley Shingoose and all those who knew and loved her. All right. Also, I think thanks to Kit Uncover, I want to bring your attention to a little scam that is going on. If this happens to you, please, 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 in no way respond to this. But it seems that there are people or groups that are receiving text messages asking their vote preference, then their postal code, then their name. Those three pieces of information are enough for someone to really locate you extremely precisely. So this is from Colleen Underwood from CBC. Mr. Grizzly, if you would, since you have it up.
Complaints lodged over tactics of ERG National Research, which is not a member of Polling Industry Association. It's election time, so receiving a text message from Mary or Nancy asking about your voting preferences might not seem all that unusual. At least that's what Calgarian Stacey Shonix thought when she heard her phone ring this past week and read a message from a sender with ERG National Research posing that question along with a list of federal party choices. I was momentarily quite excited and thought I'd get a chance to say what is going on in Alberta, so she responded. When a return text asked for her postal code, she responded again. But then she was asked for her name. She says that's when she realized something was off and started asking the sender questions with no response. You don't need my name, so that to me was very suspect, she told CBC News. She wasn't alone in being suspicious. Canadian Research's Insight Council, a polling industry association, posted a notice on its website last year saying it has received numerous complaints about those text message tactics from ERG National Research. The notices, one second here, sorry, I'm just fixing something, my apologies. My apologies. The notice stresses that ERG is not a member of its association and should not be confused with Envionics Research, a CRIC member in good standing. We have very specific rules on how our members collect data and get survey information from individuals. And we really use that as a way to try to distinguish a legitimate request from some that may not be legitimate, said CRIC CEO John Tabone. Tabone or Taboni? I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Since issuing the notice, Tabone says people have been reaching out to CRIC regularly because they're worried about what might be done with the information they've shared. I've gotten concerns from people saying, I'm a senior citizen, just fill this out. I know now that I've seen this information about it, I'm really concerned. Is there a risk to me? Is there a risk to me? Tabone has done his own research on the company, but says what he has found has been limited and confusing. According to the CRTC Voter Contact Registry, ERG National Research is listed as a communication service provider for Elect-Right, which in turn is listed as a CSP for ERG National Research. From a corporate registry search, Tabone says he found both ERG and Elect-Right use the same mailing address, and while he couldn't find a website for ERG, he did find one for Elect-Right with limited information. This company might be legitimate, but it's really hard when there isn't transparency. CBC News has reached out to Elect-Right but has not received a response. BC-based cybersecurity expert Ian Robertson recently wrote a blog post about the ERG text, which he said is drawing several thousand visits per day. He says he's been tracking who's clicking on the post and what he's noticed is interesting. 3 weeks ago, Robertson said he was getting traffic from BC. 2 weeks ago, it was clicks from Ontario. And starting last week, the post was getting hits from Alberta. We're still getting a high rate of hits coming from Alberta, said Robertson. So we're seeing it moving provincially, and currently, Alberta seems to be the hotbed where we're seeing the traffic coming from. Robertson says, presumably, as people receive these texts, they search for answers. His advice, ignore it, block it, and report it as spam. He says, providing any response at all, even replying with stop, verifies your phone number is a real number. And they're pushing for information. They're filling out a spreadsheet. And for some people, they're just going to have, yes, you're a human, and yes, there's somebody there. And he says even a small piece of information carries a lot of value. He says your postal code, in some cases, can narrow down the block or apartment building where you live. You've increased the value by confirming this phone number is at this specific location. So some third party now has that level of demographic detail on you, said Robertson. Robertson said it's best to always check the Elections Canada website for any election-related information. Tabone says he believes what ERG research is doing is wrong, but he says it's not exactly clear what rules they're violating. So he urges people to report their concerns, as he has to Elections Canada and the CRTC. CBC News reached out to the CRTC, and in an emailed response, the Commission said it plays a narrow role to promote and monitor compliance with Canada's anti-spam legislation within a civil regulatory regime, and the CRTC investigates complaints that fall within this narrow mandate. The CRTC also encourages people to contact the Commissioner of Canada Elections and Elections Canada if they are concerned about election-related spam and the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, if they believe they are a victim of fraud. Tabone said it's not clear who is responsible for investigating these types of complaints. He says he now plans to raise the issue with the Privacy Commissioner. But he hopes, if enough people speak up, these types of practices be investigated. I think the more that people complain and make this an issue, I think it's going to escalate potentially some changes to regulations, Tabone said. Well, talk about a phishing email, or a phishing text, I guess. I think I got one recently.
You see, because they ask, and it's really sneaky because they ask you a question first, and then they ask you a postal code. And if you're used to being polled or whatnot, especially online, the postal code is a normal thing they ask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not out of the ordinary.
But then they get to the third one. Now, what's your name? Whoa, but you've already given some vital pieces of information. One, this is an actual phone number that's actually tied to someone that someone answers. And it's in this particular geographic area, down to the postal code. Yeah, that's not good.
No,
that's not good at all.
I thought I had one here, but I can't seem to find it. I remember something about it. Getting a text like that, and I was like, "What? Who is this? What are you talking about?"
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. Yeah, I don't. I don't seem to. I don't see it here. I do remember getting. Oh, no, that's not it. Well, oh well. I was trying to find it to show everybody, but I don't know where the heck it went.
All right.
I may have just blocked them because I oftentimes will do that. Right? You get a suspicious email, I report it as spam and then block.
Right. All right. So, and in the chat, I am going to put a link here. Oh God, I'm going to have to tiny URL it. It seems it's an interview that happened on CBC's The House with Catherine Cullen a couple of days ago, and it's an interview with a gentleman whose name is Angus Bergman, if I'm not mistaken. Angus Bridgman, who's the director of the Media Ecosystem Observatory. And he is giving some people some tips about online stuff, particularly Facebook content, and how to avoid getting caught up or just to spot some stuff there, and another body to which to report such things if you see them. Because as we learned with the convoy, if you remember correctly, there were people in other nations who had a pro convoy group and an anti-convoy group going on at the same time, organizing protests at the same day, telling people to go to them, all that kind of stuff, and raising money off that, and getting all that kind of traffic, and ginning people to go up for no other purpose than driving clicks wherever it is in the world that they were at the time. So it seems that there is probably going to be a lot more of that going on as well. So that Facebook group that you see that is pro Carney or pro Poilièvre or pro whoever might not be what you think it is, and might not be who you know behind them. And that is for everyone who watches this show, even if you hate watch us. Because there are groups on the side that you approve of and the side that you do not approve of, both trying to court you and inflame you. No matter what your political affiliation, these people are who are doing this, especially from other nations, are politically agnostic. They are not conservatives. They're not libertarians. They're not liberals. They're not socialists. They're not anything. They're just shit disturbers, and they will say and they will put anything out there to get you to react or get you to open your wallet or give out your data.
Yes.
They're completely politically agnostic. All they're looking for is people who believe in their side, no matter what their side is, as much as possible. And they put out their fishing line and are looking for suckers. And all they are looking for is faults that already exist in your society and looking to inflame those. So there are groups that had stuff to do with convoy at one point that then became Israel and Palestine groups down the road. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people that came down for the convoy don't really care much about what's going on over there.
No, not at all. At all.
Not enough to come and protest about it.
Well, and I question if that texting is this company tied to Russia or India or China?
Iran?
Who knows?
Could be anywhere. The world is so flat now that anybody can do this from anywhere, right? Mm-hmm. It could be a Laotian.
Yes.
For all we know. Right?
Well, who was the fellow a few
Someone
years
on
ago?
Vanuatu.
You remember the fellow a few years ago? I'll say he was in Estonia, but I might have the country wrong. And he started putting out these ridiculous stories. He was putting out truthful stories, and nobody was reading them. Nobody was clicking on them. So he started writing outlandish Beaverton or Onion-type headlines, but beginning to get them more and more ridiculous, but did not write them as satire, wrote them as, and all of a sudden, clicks went through the roof, and he started making huge dollary-doos. So anybody anywhere can do this. Anybody anywhere can do it. All you have to have is a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of gumption, and a whole lot of lack of scruples or morals.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So little information there. And remember as well, Elections Canada This will never will never send you contact you directly or whatnot. Right. So if you ever get a phone call saying, "Hey, we've moved the polling station" or something like that, that is not Elections Canada. Elections Canada never does that. They either issue a new voter card or they go through the media or something like that. But they will not call you or personally send you a text message saying that if you get that, that is not them.
Doesn't happen. No,
That's not Elections Canada. All right. And that's a call you should report. Just putting it out there. Just watch out for the scams. Okay.
Give me 2 seconds. I got to get another coffee. That damn fine cup of coffee. I'll be right back.
Good. And then the other one I've seen others like AI generated images of Mark Carney's head on a 34-year-old's pretty relatively, you can tell gym body based on the ripples of where the pecs are under the shirt with a cop on each side, like Carney being arrested, and sort of like no. All right. So just don't get drawn in. Don't get drawn in. Use a little critical thinking and double check. And just on that, I got caught on that. It's a good opportunity to issue the gentle correction. I mentioned on the show that there would be something maybe coming out on the Fifth Estate with regard to Pierre Poilièvre's T-shirts, and they might have been manufactured in Hungary. Turns out that was not. Turns out that was someone doing satire, but there was no emoji or anything indicating satire, and it was under a satirical thing, but there was nothing clear that said I'm playing along, and it was good enough satire to be credible. So I got caught, but then I went looking for the show and could not find it, and then it's like, yeah, because you'd think that they said that it would be airing next week, and that would have exploded all over, and it didn't. So I went back and looked, and it appears that I got caught. So there you go. But
it happens to the best.
They said it would be the Fifth Estate that was putting it out, and it's like, why would anybody put a hoax about the Fifth Estate? CBC show. So they didn't make the lie too big, so it was very credible.
Mm-hmm. And that's the key. That's the key. Like, I've taken so many online cybersecurity courses through different employers and different companies that I've worked for and contracted to, and they will send you phishing emails that hopefully you catch. And 99 out of 100 times I do, but once in a while, one gets by because it looks so legit. And I missed one little thing in the email address, and it was a .ca instead of a .com or something like that. Everything else looked legit.
Right.
Letterhead, it didn't look like a scam. So they are getting more and more sophisticated. And this was just like a test for me, and I failed it. And I was like, oh my God. They said, no, don't worry. You got 99 out of 100, but it's that one that gets through that could bring down an organization. I'm like, you're right. I must be more vigilant and pay more attention. And we all get it sometimes, especially if it hits you at a time when, it's the end of the work week. It's a Friday, like 5 o'clock. You're exhausted. All you want to do is sit on the couch, put your feet up, and relax. And knowing that Saturday comes along, and that's another work day, but not one you get paid for, right? It's right. Run the errands, take the kids to hockey, blah, 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 blah. We need to reduce our 5-day work week to 4 days so that we can have a 3-day weekend. And on the Friday, we get all our shit done. And on a Saturday, we can relax. And Sunday is the day of rest. Saturday would be like the fun day, and Sunday is the day of rest. Mm-hmm. And I sincerely mean a 4-day work week with a 3-day weekend would be much more productive for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the one last little tidbit, kids and cubs, we hadn't had a chance to talk about it much, but on Sunday will be the Juno Awards.
Yes, I will.
For those of you who are into Canadian music, and I believe I thought that I'd heard that Dan Hill was being inducted to the Hall of Fame, but then I heard that Anne Murray was also being inducted to the Hall of Fame, and I'm not sure
Murray's already in there.
Well, that's what I thought too when I heard it. So I'm not exactly sure which of the two or if both of the two are being inducted this year, or maybe Dan Hill was a whole other year and I missed it this year. But somebody will be inducted. I'm going out on a limb here.
There's definitely going to be a ceremony, and somebody's definitely going to the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
There were actors, and there was a plot, and I think there was some intrigue. Yeah, and
That guy wears a shirt.
oh God, we have this joke in the gay community. It's like saying at the leather bar, "I'm going to be in the guy in the leather and the goatee."
So that's like what, 90% of the people there.
Exactly. You'll spot me easy. I'll be the guy in the leather with the goatee.
That's everyone in the bar, with the exception of the women who were there, and maybe some of them.
Exactly. Sum 41 apparently will be doing their final performance as group.
Yes, yeah. They're retiring because Derek Whibley, the lead singer, has a lot of health issues. His back is shot. Yeah. Well, he had a few years ago. He was hospitalized due to severe alcoholism, to the point where the doctor said, if you continue drinking, you will die.
Oh my.
Like your liver cannot take it anymore. He had pancreatitis a few times. He was hospitalized. So he went cold turkey. He quit alcohol altogether. He doesn't. I don't know if he uses cannabis or not, but no other illicit narcotics. And he's been, I'd say, mostly straight edge for the last few years, and it saved his life, and he recognizes that. But he's now at a point where his back is finished, and he's like, I don't want to not be able to walk when I get older. I understand. I completely understand what he's saying. It's the same thing with me. Why I can't go back to construction.
I know, yeah. So I've just seen, I'm not sure where I got the thing about Anne-Marie, but there are more than one inductee, and
Yes.
they will be one of them, along with Dan Hill, which I was right, Ginette Renault.
She's not in the Hall of Fame?
Yet?
What the hell?
Ginette Renault.
Now, for those outside of Eastern Ontario,
There was Céline Dion before there was Céline Dion.
Exactly. Ginette Renault is massive in the province of Quebec, and throughout Franco communities across the country. I mean, Ginette Renault is like you said, Céline Dion before Céline Dion. So wow, how she, I can't believe she's not in there.
I know. Glass Tiger. I thought they would be in already, but
I knew they weren't, and it's overdue. It's overdue.
And Lorena McKennett. Again, how is she not in already?
I probably because she's still
one of the
ish, but you're right. She's been on the scene a long time.
One of the premier artists in her genre too.
Yeah. It's surprising. Yeah, she should be in there already.
Wow.
So, well, at least they're getting them there. So
yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
So yeah, interesting. Maybe it's Anne-Marie. Maybe Anne-Marie is the one that's doing the presentation. Maybe
that would make more sense.
Why I heard of her in there. But anyway, because when I saw Anne-Marie in Hall of Fame, I thought, wait a minute.
No, she's been already for a long time.
She's got to be in there. I was raised on her music. My mom loved Anne-Marie so much. So anyway, we'll see. Maybe it was just a recycled tweet that I saw there, because she did give the welcome speech at the Juno Awards last time. Right. All right. So yes, for Canadian music fans, you'll definitely be looking at that. All right. Political news. Kids and Cubs. There is no other way to say this. But you will remember that I've been telling you about the polling stuff and the 3 milestones. Right? The third milestone would be that Liberals go into majority territory, and that happened a little bit ago. And again, the polling companies are releasing their information on a daily basis, and things are still not going well for Poilièvre. In fact, they are going a little worse. According to 338, they are now showing a 99% chance of the Liberals winning the election, 84% chance of a majority. So that just keeps on going up with every passing day, and seat count also rising, 187 to 126 for for them, with the Bluck still going down 23, the NDP still going down 6. So it doesn't seem yet that the one-day flub in Quebec has affected Carney too much so far, or the decision to not participate in the TVA debate at the moment. According to the CBC poll tracker, it's pretty much the same thing. In terms of seat count and spreads, the Liberals gained another 0.3% on the day. Conservatives stayed stable. And one thing I need to point out here, it's not that the Conservative vote is dropping from it at the moment. I mean, it's down from 46, but Conservatives at 46 was not sustainable. You knew that was some of those was placeholder vote. And the Conservative crowd sizes, if you're going to the rallies, are huge, right? And I guess that's one of the advantages of the Conservatives doing their own media, is that the local media gets everything, but they're doing the feed. They get the angles, the camera angles. So it's a battle between their crowd size. Look, we do have momentum. Don't believe the polls, and then what the polls are saying. It's like, right, and this is right here, the last 9 or 10 polls for the province of Quebec only. And that's a lot of it's all red.
Yeah,
with
right
leads of, and what's the range of leads for the
11, 21, 11, 12, 27, 22, 10, 18, 10, and 8.
Yeah.
And that was and these are the dates from the 22nd to the 25th of March.
Yeah.
So on the 22nd of March, Liaison had it at an 8 share, and on the 25th, 11.
Yeah.
So everybody's seeing increases right across the board.
Yeah.
And then when we look at, this is the one that you sent me that I absolutely think is odds of Poilièvre becoming PMF crash from near certain to near zero. So for the month of January, he was at 99%. February 2nd at 99%. February 9th, 95%. 16th, 74. 23rd, 54. March 2nd, 28. He had a bump on March 9th to 32, March 16th, 13, and March 18th, 1%.
Yeah.
His rage farming is not working anymore.
No, the moment has passed him by, like we said, right? And the other one, which is Polling Canada, they're showing a 5-point spread in the national number. Liberals 42, Conservatives 37, which is ridiculously huge considering where we're coming from. And they're seeing Liberal seats climbing up to 190. So they're the only one of the 3 aggregators that are at the 190 mark. So they're seeing, and they see the Bluck down all the way to 21 instead of like 23 or 24 as other ones are showing. So the momentum is clearly on the side of the Liberals. A little bit of gaffes that have been happening haven't really taken their toll. The very concerted effort of the Conservatives to try to attack Carney's ethics, either on disclosure, either on moving an office to New York, or making a deal with Canada's second largest trading partner. One of the largest company on the Canadian stock market making a deal with Canada's second largest trading partner from the government that signed a 31-year secret deal with that same nation. Again, these are not credible attacks.
Well, yesterday when Poilièvre's message is getting out to people, because I interjected in some conversations yesterday on Facebook with some people I've known for 30 plus years who are saying, well, he's owned by the Chinese because Mark Carney owes $250 million to China. I'm like, no, he does not. He doesn't owe anything to China. The company that he worked for, Brookfield Asset Management, has a loan of $250 million with China. He has nothing to do with it because everything is in a blind trust now. But Poilièvre's bullshit line is going out to the true believers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And they believe it.
And those who want to believe.
Those who want to believe.
There's a little bit of X-Files to this. I want to believe Liberals are inherently corrupt.
Well, and I've
And
noticed a
therefore,
lot of pushback online on social media from people saying, "Look, verify sources. Don't take one source from somebody you've never heard of before as the word.
right,
Verify the sources, make an informed choice when you vote." I'm like, thank goodness we're not the only ones saying this anymore.
right,
Not that we were
exactly.
ever the only ones, but I always felt like we were.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, Pierre's has troubles, right? We mentioned that he's got the problem with his, lack of security clearance, and there's been a couple of days of stories, leaks that have come out, and he's not been able to handle that one. Then there's been the whole issue with Danielle, and we're not going to go into this too deep, but um, Mr. Grizzly brought it to my attention that there was an article from the National Observer that came out that says Danielle Smith and Ben Shapiro discuss Canada electing solid allies to Trump at Florida event. And I'm just going to read the first paragraph, and that should really be enough for you. I mean, there's more, but the first paragraph should be enough. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith and Conservative influencer Ben Shapiro discussed how to help Canada elect solid allies to the Trump administration during a private gala in South Florida, according to an audio of the event obtained by DeSmog and Canada's National Observer. Discussed how to help Canada elect solid allies to the Trump administration. She said she was going into the lion's den to help get those tariffs removed somehow. But apparently, no, it was a strategy session to discuss how to elect solid allies to the Trump administration in Canada. Why would Canada need a premier working with Ben Shapiro and his buddies to elect solid allies to the Trump administration here in Canada? And why are you being billed for it? I will not go into it any more than that, but that should tell you all you need to know, because she stood up in the legislature and she said
Mhm.
that she was going into the lion's den, and we all knew she was lying to our faces like this. But come on, did she really think that nobody would tape anything that was going on down there and see what she actually talked about?
Well, this is the thing.
She's dumb.
Is she that stupid? Does she
She's that
actually believe
thirsty.
this won't get back to us?
She's that thirsty.
Yeah.
What other sign can you get this? Either she's preparing her next career as a pundit out in the United States, or she too, because everybody's saying it, right? Everybody seems to want Pierre's job. Maybe she wants it too. Maybe she thinks she can ride that untamable horse.
Maybe.
But I'm not like, there can be no doubt. They discussed how to elect Trump administration allies in Canada in front of people, like an audience.
A room full of people. Yeah. That won't get back to Canada. Oh, no, what I said was not what I said.
How
it was
dare you call me
AI
a traitor?
manipulated. We watched it live.
It's offensive and false. So
She should be arrested when she comes back.
Right. So here's the thing, right? Daniel, as far as I'm concerned, and this is just my speculation, but Danielle Smith is not at all trying to help Pierre get elected.
No.
Not at all. She's deliberately trying to sabotage him.
It certainly seems like it. Because tying him to Trump is a millstone around his neck. And I'm okay with that.
Yes, but like, come on. Like, she already tied him on the 8th in that Breitbart interview, and now literally discussing how to elect solid Trump allies. Pierre Poilièvre is our guy, she says. She knows it's sinking him like this, and she just went in, like, she tied the anchor around him, put rocks in his shirt, tied his hands behind his back so he can't swim up, and threw him underwater. And then she said, you know what? That's not enough. Carry this anvil while you're at it.
Yeah, here. Hold this.
It's like there can't be She cannot be living in a reality in which she thinks that any of this is helpful to Pierre.
Goodness.
Really. And we know that, well, we know that there's been allegedly a falling out between Danielle Smith and David Parker. And we all know that David Parker really had it in for Jenny and Pierre.
Yeah.
So
Look,
the question about
no
what the question,
David Parker, we know that, but
I know,
he's going to torpedo that whole party, and he doesn't care.
but the question here is, even though Danielle may have been smart enough to distance herself from David Parker because he was getting a little too God complexy, maybe, we don't know whether or not she felt the exact same way about Pierre and Jenny as he did.
Yeah, we don't know.
If she did,
maybe
she just kept on going with the playbook and just got rid of the guy. We know that she's good at getting rid of people. Right, Athana Mentzelopoulos? Right, AHS board? Right, Nate Pike?
Yeah. I'll say this.
I shouldn't make the direction that she directly tried to get rid of Nate Pike. I guess that's going a little too far.
It's a bit of a stretch, but it would, I mean, paint by numbers. Oh, look I see a portrait of Mona Lisa being formed here.
Well, I mean, if we stretch the way they do,
why not?
She directly ordered it. Right? I mean, if we did news the way they did, we wouldn't be making this caveat, right? How could she have not known? Rah, 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 rah. Right? We'd be doing that like they do. So she's not helping. And then the other day, I was listening to Curse of Politics with David Hurley. And Corey Tenike was off the show for a while because he was running Doug Ford's campaign, but now he's back on the show. And he had a lot of choice words. Like, I'm listening to some go like, is a conservative really taking a strip? Like I had it in the notes yesterday, but I didn't have a chance to mention it. It was like Corey Tenike tears a strip off Pierre. And then, well, this happened.
Which one happened?
We'll start with the first one with Jason, and then the next one.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure. I had that queued up, but I wasn't sure if that's what you meant. So that's why I asked. You gotta give me a bit of a clue before the cue.
I did. Yes, that was bad. I tried to do that too smoothly.
It's a little too smooth. So Jason Kenney really wants Pierre's jobs. Trump's 25% on Canadian auto imports is a devastating blow to hundreds of thousands of good, honest, hardworking Canadians. True, that's a fact. We Albertans have long pleaded with Central Canadians to understand the importance of the energy industry to our economy. What? Well, now we have to show Ontarians that we share their outrage with this betrayal and stand in solidarity with those whose livelihoods and communities are in real danger. You think we don't know?
It's not the news. It's the who says it, and in contrast to who else from the movement is saying it. That's the thing.
Let's not allow Trump to divide Canadians. We have to stand together to defend all industries and jobs. That means that everything should be on the table in terms of our potential strategic response. To the Ontarians who are deeply anxious about these attacks, please know that the vast majority of Albertans stand proudly with you and have your back. He wants Pierre's job. Jason Kenney. Yeah, he wants Skippy's job.
Does this sound like Jason Kenney to you?
No. Not at all.
Someone's trying to reinvent himself. Now, for this to work, unfortunately, though, he probably should not have taken that job with Post Media first.
You think?
Well, they don't go together. But wow, what statesmanship. People from Alberta, we know how much the oil industry and how Canada said to us. Now we have a chance to stand with Ontario and show them that we care about their industry as much as we care about our own. Let's all rally together. Really?
Yeah.
Jason. Okay. So apparently someone already feels the need to try to position themselves to maybe try and hip check Doug Ford, who apparently seems to be positioning himself and getting a lot of help here.
Yeah, let's just have a look at this headline from the Toronto Star. Doug Ford's internal polling paints grim election prospects for Pierre. Oh, really? Interesting. Let's just blow that up a little bit here. Ford's
Now, kids and
campaign
cubs.
manager warns unless the Tories, and there is no Tories, get on it
No.
quick, they're going to get obliterated.
Okay. Now, kids and cubs, you know that your Royale with Cheeze, qWeenBeaver, lives for the awkward moment. Let me explain something to you. For this story to happen, party internal polling had to find its way somehow into the mainstream media. Internal party polling, that data is gold, platinum even, to political parties. That information never, ever, ever seeps out unless someone really, really, really wants it to.
Mm-hmm.
And normally that's done in secret. They all just did it right out in the open.
They didn't even try to hide it.
Hey, we got some data here you might want to see. And Mr. Grizzly, I believe the next tweet shows what the date is. Now, this is polling for the province of Ontario only from the people who have just been doing tons of polling in Ontario, right? Because we just had an election.
I'm not sure which one you mean here.
Oh, all right. Hold on. I will go take a look here. Under Fort Tenike and Kuvalis, 338
that one?
status.
Okay,
Yeah, that one.
This holy hell internal poll for Ontario PC by Campaign Research measures a 15-point lead for federal Liberals in the province. I'll put it on the screen here so you can see it. Ontario only, Liberals 48, CPC 13, NDP 11, Green Party 4.
CPC 13?
By Robert Menzies.
CPC 13?
GPC 4, CPC 33.
Okay, 33. Okay.
33, yeah.
Yeah, so 48 to 33 in Ontario. Vote rich, Ontario. I don't know, you might want to stick a fourchette in this turkey.
It's done.
Listen, there's still 4 weeks to go. But
yeah.
Hey, we're March 28th. The voting day is April 28th.
Mm-hmm.
A lot can happen. But this is spectacularly bad.
Well, and let's not forget, so the threat of annexation from Trump, and now we have the threat of what's the word Tariffs. I'm looking for? No, from Danny. She threatens to
the national unity crisis.
Yes, trigger a national unity crisis and have Alberta separate from Canada.
Yeah.
Except, how can Alberta do that when? How are they going to separate?
Yes.
You look at that map there. Let's see. They're on Treaty 8, Treaty 6, Treaty 10, and Treaty 7, and Treaty 4. That's all of Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and a good chunk of Ontario. So please tell us how you can secede when the land isn't yours.
Yep. So we have a little bit here from Evan Scrimshaw here on tonight, that type stuff. Because sometimes you just have to tip your cap. The night the Ontario PCs won a third term, I tweeted that as much as I despise their politics, there's just nothing to be done but tip your cap to the campaign Ford's team ran. Corey Tenike and Nick Kuvalis, for whatever you want to say about them, are good at their jobs, and it's frustrating for me when the right in this country hires them because they're good. They're reliable in a good way, competent and smart, and just generally not going to fuck up. So that's why it's so freaking satisfying to see two bits of news today. The first is that tonight was on a panel at the Empire Club last night and went off on the Conservative campaign. And the second is that Campaign Research, Corvallis's firm, released some polling for Ford's people of federal vote intention in Ontario. And spoiler, it's bad. Or great if you're me. 48 to 33% for the Liberals in Ontario in a 3-day Monday to Wednesday sample. For all the talk that the Conservatives have won the campaign's launch, they're getting destroyed. This column was originally going to be about Liaison and Main Street and the fact that neither pollster has seen any dip in the Liberal vote since their daily tracker started. And especially in Quebec, there's no Liberal dip or bloc rise coming so far from the decision to skip the TVA debate, or seemingly the Polytechnique gaffes, but we need another day's sampling for that. And those points are worth mentioning, but man, this has to start with tonight. Let's just look at these quotes, shall we? You've got to have a pivot that's taking some of the momentum off that issue's shift, and it directs towards things that are yours. It's not going to happen if you're talking about the World Economic Forum or the Curse Century Initiative or whatever other thing that's of little or no relevance to voters. The more quotes about the basic unlikability of Poilièvre right now. He looks too much like Trump. He sounds like Trump. You can't look and sound like an orange asshole down south. This could be well dismissed as liberal talking points if it wasn't for the fact that they're from Corey frickin' Tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
The great almost Shakespearean tragedy of the Conservative Party of Canada is its 3 terms in office produced 3 people who were supposed to be generational talents at an operative staff level, and their best talents hates their policy. Tonight, Jenny Byrne and Fred Delory were supposed to run the next generation of Conservative campaigns and supposed to be the group that brought Conservatives to their destiny as the natural governing party of the century. Delory and Byrne have both already lost a campaign. Byrne seems on track to lose a second, and the true best of the bunch is running his fiefdom in Ontario. This should be tonight's party, but the Conservatives are wasting their best operative in Ontario, instead praying that Byrne 2.0 will get better than Byrne 1.0, the lifeless and mediocre at best 2015 campaign, did. The fact that Byrne is getting a second national campaign after how bad her first run was while Delory is sitting on CBC panels says a lot about the Conservative Party. Delory is by no means blameless for 2021, but it's hard to look at a campaign that entered the writ down and scraped out essentially a status quo result that still won the popular vote as anything other than a success for the campaign, as much as Delory's punditry makes me want to throw things at my TV sometimes. He has a better hit rate on his takes and not making me consider throwing my remote than David Hurley or Scott Reed for what it's worth, so it's not a partisan thing. The crisis for Conservatives isn't that Corey has committed some grave injustice to the cause of conservatism, it's that he's frickin' right. Poilièvre's campaign has been a disaster that can only look good because people are judging it in a vacuum. In a vacuum, Poilièvre's campaign is mediocrity personified. I still think he needlessly painted himself into a corner on fiscal discipline that would be a problem in any time, but a series of tax cuts and keeping popular liberal policies isn't a bad week. The problem isn't that it's bad, the problem is that it's comically insufficient. It's the equivalent of a quiet night of homemade steak dinner on Valentine's Day when the girlfriend wants a big night out on the town. It's just not good enough for the moment. The other problem for the Conservatives is as their policy offers don't seem to be meeting the moment, their attacks aren't working either. Monday's Main Street release in the field from Friday to Sunday had the Liberals at 38 in Quebec. Today's poll fielded Monday to Wednesday, 38.9. The Bloc's essentially flat too, 25.6 to 26.3, despite all this talk about the disrespect of Carney towards Quebec and how skipping the TVA debate would be a disaster for him. The attacks on Carney as some globalist, the terrible conspiracies about Brookfield, the nonsense about China, it's all irrelevant. The problem for the Conservatives is they're running a peacetime campaign in wartime, and it ain't fucking peacetime right now. Nope. I wrote earlier this week that the Conservatives had to make this election about other things if they want to win, or at least stop this election solely being about Trump and tariffs. They're missing the mood of the nation, which is that Carney is mostly fine. Pretending that Carney is an elite banker as an attack line is idiocy on stilts because it's his sales pitch. I'm an elite banker. I've done this before.
Yeah.
Carney's an elite banker. Yeah, that's what I said.
He just told you that.
The fact that Mark Carney took a meeting with some high-level Chinese official in his capacity at Brookfield isn't a scandal. It just reinforces that Carney's a serious person who fits in important rooms. This, quote, green funds in Bermuda controversy is nominally worse, but even then, does anybody really think this election is going to turn on the tax treatment of pension funds? Brookfield's obligations are to its clients whose money they're managing and to its shareholders. If you want to be pissed that Brookfield felt compelled to domicile a couple of funds in Bermuda for tax purposes, that's your right. But pretending that Mark Carney did that, and especially that he did it because he didn't love Canada, is so transparently stupid as to be ludicrous. And complaining about how Brookfield does business without a policy of trying to stop it seems dumb and bad. And I have to note that this is something that's happened. Pierre's criticized, the policy. Oh my God, he did this tax stuff, but doesn't say, I've got a law to stop that. Jagmeet Singh went to the home of people and said, hey, the guys from Brookfield, did this thing with rental apartments and they jacked the prices up, but he had no policy on housing to actually announce while he was there. So he says, my God, isn't that bad?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, see you tomorrow. It's like, if you're going to do that, you need to have an announceable.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right? So, yeah, again, if Poilièvre had used this story as an excuse to say push for a comprehensive global treaty against this kind of tax avoided scheming, I'd buy that it's worth talking about. If I were Carney, I'd do that exact thing. Quote, we had to make the decisions we did because it was in our narrow best interests, and we have a legal duty to do what's best for our shareholders. But that doesn't mean I didn't know it was wrong on a broader level, which is why I'm going to work with global leaders to end tax havens and restore fairness to global taxation. It's that easy, but the Conservatives aren't good at this right now.
No, they are not.
They are not. Right? So you got this happening. Corey Tenike is tearing strips. They're leaking information to the press from internal polling data. Danielle Smith is sticking the knife in him, twisting and pulling up every time she opens her mouth. And then Mr. Grizzly, the Power and Politics clip coming up.
Mm-hmm.
There is a big discussion on this, and want to bring it to your attention because if this is what they're saying in the media,
yikes.
Please, sir.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford's campaign manager, who oversaw his 3 back-to-back majority government wins, is ringing the alarm bell for the federal Conservatives, saying Pierre Poilièvre is on the wrong track if he wants to win this federal election.
I think we're just on the wrong track, and I think we need to adjust, refocus the campaign on the one big issue, and soften the tone a little bit in terms of how those ideas are being presented. Look, at the end of the day, insofar as the Liberals have been able to move ahead, a lot of it is being done on literally stealing policies that Poilièvre has been advocating for, very effectively for the last couple of years. So I don't think there's a substance problem there as much as a style problem and emphasis problem.
Okay, our panel of veteran journalists is back. Joël Denis, Bellavance, Mia Rapson, and Bob Fife. Bob, the Corey Tenike I knew was a federal Conservative. This today is quite the move, and also a poll coming out from the campaign research, Nick Kouvalas, who does the data for Doug Ford, that's got the Liberals up 15 points. Like, we're talking 90-seat territory in Ontario. What do you make of this intrusion into the race here?
Well, Corey got on a gas truck, and he drove it up to Tory headquarters. And he got out, and he sprayed the gas all over, lit a match, and walked away. Kaboom! Look, this is a devastating thing for the Conservatives because elections are won in Ontario. Yep. Quebec often decides on whether there's going to be a majority or minority government, but elections are decided in Ontario. When you have a very popular premier, Doug Ford, who's won another big majority government, 3 in a row, which Mr. Tenike was responsible for winning, and he comes out and basically says, these guys are losing, they don't know how to pivot, and you've got the same, by the way, you also have the Premier talking about how great Mark Carney is.
That was as close to an endorsement as you're going to get from Doug Ford. I think,
they are in deep trouble in Ontario because they can't now count on those Conservative members of the legislature, provincial Conservatives, working with them on their campaigns because Corey's basically said they're toast.
Mia, this is quite the thing to see. And, you know, we saw the big campaign rallies in the first week, you know, 4,000 plus in Hamilton. And you see Ian Brody, Stephen Harper's former chief of staff, saying, well, if you've never been on a campaign, I'm sure crowd size looks important to you. I mean, what's going on in the Conservative universe?
I mean, it is not unimportant that Pierre Poilièvre is still able to fill a room with several thousand people. There are still, you know, a lot of people in Canada are supporting his campaign. I think that the numbers that are coming out of Ontario right now, and that if those poll numbers are holding, I mean, those are devastating for them. You cannot win an election in Canada if you can't win in Ontario. It's just, we used to think you couldn't do it without winning Quebec. Stephen Harper proved in 2011 that you didn't have to win Quebec to win a majority government, but you can't do it without Ontario. There's too many seats. It is too important. You've seen, I mean, Mr. Poilièvre campaigned, I think about half of the first week he's been in Ontario. He's coming back to Ontario, I believe, in the coming days. You're going to see him campaigning here a lot because it matters. It's where he needs to campaign. And the fact that they're also now fighting with people that they should be getting along with is not a great sign. I've often said you hear a lot from politicians who are fighting when things aren't going well. When things are going well, everyone's happy, everyone's quiet, everybody falls in line. They're not falling in line right now.
There's an interesting thing that happens with this, though, JD, in that, you know, Jagmeet Singh, the first couple of days of the campaign, faced a lot of questions about the polls and what's going to happen to you. Pierre Poilièvre didn't. Now he is, right? The last time I saw a 25-point lead disappear like this, the Atlanta Falcons went into halftime of the Super Bowl up 28-3. And then Tom Brady won the Super Bowl. Like, he is being asked, you're collapsing. Why? You've got Canada problems. What's going on? It has opened up this world of narrative that Conservatives do not need.
Exactly. It's too early to write Mr. Poilièvre off. There's still some time to go. And the crowds are big. It's devoted Conservatives who, you know, will go anywhere to fight the campaign that Mr. Poilièvre is fighting. But meanwhile, it does not matter to me how big are the crowd for Mr. Carney, because in their living room, Canadians are thinking about what's the real issue of this election campaign. And they're focused on the future of Canada's relationship with the United States. And to them, they're making their mind accordingly. And who's best able to face Mr. Trump. And what Mr. Tonak said to me, in French we would say it's le baiser de la mort, the kiss of death, I would say. That resembles that, because I'm sure that Mr. Tory Knight has a lot of people who trust him, follows him because of his experience in success in winning election campaigns. And winning Ontario is a critical, we've said it many times around this table, is a critical point. You don't win Ontario, you stay on the opposition benches.
But, you know, Corey has to be very careful walking across the street, because he could be a hit and run with Jenny Byrne driving the car. I mean, this is really serious stuff here.
It's worth noting, though, that it's not just about...
I got to pause on that, because that's pretty inflammatory what Fife just said, but also plausible.
Plausible. Now, here's the thing. So far in this segment, I saw the post from Kit Lindham there. I can imagine Justin Trudeau sitting on his couch with a bowl of popcorn enjoying this. Okay. They have burst out into laughter 4 times, 3 or 4 times already. Rule number 1 in politics: when they're laughing at you, you're done.
You're finished. Finished. Yeah.
This is festive.
Oh, yeah. He's done. He's done like dinner. It's rare to have a panel laugh like that, and they've done it a few times already. Yeah. Let's continue.
Them saying the polls aren't doing well. If the Ontario Conservative Party is walking away or sitting on the sidelines, that's volunteers, that's money, that's staff, that's organization, that's logistics. These are all things. Campaigns rely on each other at both levels to sort of cooperate.
And David,
they don't have that, that's hard.
One point to make is that I did not expect that kind of infighting to happen so early in the campaign. We're
week 1. It's week 1.
Exactly.
Right?
It happens maybe.
Well, and the thing is, David, is next week is April 2nd week of
Liberation Day,
so
as they call it.
In a way, it's going to be very difficult for Mr. Poilièvre to get any oxygen, because it's going to be the focus on Mr. Carney and how he deals. As he said, he's going to tell Canadians what kind of response he's going to have to those tariffs. So that'll be, it could be another lost week for him. So at the end of the end, it's going to be to come up to, can he do a home run or knock him out during the debates, which are pretty crucial.
Yeah. So Sean Spear, who used to be a policy advisor in Stephen Harper's office, tweeted out, the Ford folks have won 3 elections, but they shouldn't be too boastful. On virtually every policy file, they're heading up Kathleen Wynne's 4th term in office. So this is...
That's an ideological fight.
Well, it's not containing.
Yeah,
it's not containing, right?
Within the Tory family. So we just have to prove that they're not.
But that's part of the
well.
reason is why, like Mr. Poilièvre has became leader in 2022. He only talked to Mr. Ford in February 27th. He had lots of time to talk to him. And the reason they didn't, because they didn't think he was right-wing enough.
Right.
But in Ontario, to win, Ontario is not a right-wing province. You got to be in the center. And Mr. Ford understands Ontario. You fight for votes in the center, not on the right wing.
Well, on the polling data that was helpfully provided by the Ontario Conservatives, it shows that about 32% of people who voted for Doug Ford are willing to vote for Mark Carney. So if you lose 1/3 of Doug Ford's Conservative coalition from the federal Conservative voting base, you can't win in Ontario, right? And when Ford is out saying the things he is saying about Mark Carney and being in total alignment with him, visually, the people in the living rooms, as JD talks about, they're getting a signal from that.
They're totally getting a signal. And one of the things that Doug Ford said, I think it was just last week, he said when he was asked about Mr. Poilièvre and Mr. Carney and who he might prefer, he said, I don't really know either of them. Mark Carney, okay, maybe he doesn't know him that well. You know, he's just become the Liberal leader. That might make sense. The fact that the Conservative leader in Ontario says he does not know well the Conservative leader in Canada, that is very, very telling.
Well,
and it's a problem for them.
Well, and something Corey Tenike said today as well, because Corey Tenike is getting quoted a lot today on the podcast he does with David Hurley, is that JD said for 2 years he's been trying to get the Poilièvre people to form a relationship with the Ford people, and the Poilièvre people, for whatever reason, would not do it. That's his version of events. You're seeing Tim Houston, for example, another Conservative premier, not being super active, in Nova Scotia. Like, there is no reaching out and building
Except for
alliances.
Danielle Smith, of course.
Well, and she's in Florida tonight at the Ben Shapiro thing.
Shooting in the boat.
But JD, I mean, what do you make of that? This seems like a missed opportunity to build relations, right?
Yeah, and I think the way that Mr. Poilièvre won the leadership, he and his team felt that he was invincible, that he didn't need the help of anybody. He could do it alone, win this election campaign that was going to be a referendum on Justin Trudeau, so he was going to be doing it alone. Well, this is back to reality. You can't win without some key alliances with key premiers. The name Monsieur Ford being one very example. And in Ontario, remember this, the same people who vote for Mr. Ford will vote Liberal federally.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
There is an overlap of the Trudeau-Ford coalition.
So that's why Mr. Ford is very cautious not to endorse anybody openly, although he likes to publish pictures of him having breakfast with Mark Carney at some restaurants in Etobicoke. But other than that, I think he says he's neutral, but I would say that his neutrality is a bit tainted.
Wink, wink.
The signal that Canadians are sending right now is they want a steady hand on the wheel. And they're seeing that in Mark Carney. And what they're seeing from the Conservatives is fighting and disorganization. And that's not what they want. They want someone who has a steady hand, who's going to be able to get them through this crisis as well as possible. And Mark Carney was not super optimistic to tease. This is going to be hard. This is going to take a while. But he sounded like he had a plan. And if the Canadians are looking for a steady hand and a plan, that's what he's offering them.
Bob, we only got about 30 seconds left, but it seems, and sort of the analysis that I've heard from Conservatives is that they're running an election campaign as if Justin Trudeau was still Prime Minister and Joe Biden was still President.
Well, I mean, that's what he's still campaigning against Justin Trudeau. And the Trudeau legacy, and then trying to get hook up Carney to it. But Canadians have moved on from Justin Trudeau. They're focusing on one person, Donald Trump in the White House, who's trying to destroy our economy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's only been 1 week. And, who knows where we'll be in however many days it is between now and April 28th. Thanks. We'll be here every Thursday. Bob Fife, JD Billabong, Samia Rabson.
Wow.
Damn. That's cold.
Yeah.
That's cold. I mean, like I said, I live for the awkward moment. And I felt bad for him. Ouch. So yeah, not going well for Pierre. But that's not all. There's still more. He's still lying about the tax cut.
Yeah.
Even though it's now been all over that it's not really 15%, but 1.125% for the first 2 years when Carney's already won. So it's like a nominal difference. Same thing for his GST thing on the houses. 1 million versus 1.3 million. I think maybe Pierre has opened it to more types of housing, I think, or something like that. But again, a nominal change. And again, you have to have that money. Yesterday, in a totally tone deaf announcement, he was announcing that the amount that you can contribute to your TFSA, he's going to raise that. 9% of Canadians in any given year make the maximum donation. And since it's been opened, the number of people that have made the maximum donation every year is hardly any. And again, remember that the context here is affordability.
Yeah.
Who has the extra 5,000? Who has the extra the money to put in the contribution room? This again is not a measure for the people who need it. The thing with the raising the basic personal amount for seniors to 34,000 when they already have OAS and GIS, and it's people who are in their 20s who are finishing university, like this, rather than making that a loan forgiveness program or something.
Well,
right? So he's given money to the people who already have it. He's giving more opportunities to make money to people who already have it.
It's tone deaf on his part, of course, because he's not in touch with reality. It goes back to his COVID reaction. Well, what we're going to do is have measured tax cuts, and I don't have a job. How is a tax cut going to benefit somebody with no income? Same thing. Hey, you can put another $5,000 into your TFSA. That's great. If I had $5,000, I'd put it in. No, actually, I'd pay some bills.
If I had a TFSA, number one, now I happen to have one. It works for me as a thing like this. But sir, I've still got contribution room for the last 8 years to fill before your extra. Like, I've not been able to top it up. That my plan was to do it, but
never once have I topped mine up. Not once. And this year, I've had to take most of it to keep myself afloat. I've got about $400 left in my TFSA. I had about 3,000, which is not a lot, not even close to what your maximum. I've had to use it, and they're like, there could be tax implications. You really think I give a shit when I'm trying to keep my rent paid and food on my table?
The first year contribution was 5,000, so you didn't even max out the first year.
No.
And the contribution's been raised since then. I think it's now $7,000 a year or something. He's proposing to $7,000. I think it's $6,500 at the moment or something. But it's like I topped it off the first year, and then I've never, because I had money to shift. But in that first year, but I've never been able to set that amount aside every year. Like, and on top, make an RSP contribution, right?
Truth be told, if I say I was gainfully employed and I had a steady income and I was earning, well, what I was earning in 2016, because last year I was $20,000 shy of what I earned in 2016. This is not the direction I want to be going as I get older, right?
Right.
So let's say I was earning what I earned in 2016. If I could max out my TFSA and RSPs on that income if I never left my house.
Yeah.
If I only ate food I bought at the Dollarama, I never had a social interaction outside of my home or outside of a Zoom call.
Yep.
Then I could probably do it.
Yep.
Probably. But that means you're living like a hermit.
Yep.
And as a result, your life sucks.
Indeed.
Like, and that would mean eliminating no more coffee, no more tea. I'll just eat a very basic diet and drink water. I'll never go out for a beer. I'll give up beer. I'll give up all the vices. Really, Guinness is really probably my only real vice, honestly. But give them all up, and then minimize bills wherever I could, eliminate all the software subscription services I use to run this show. Get rid of all of that, right? Minimize my internet connectivity to the lowest possible setting I could have, which would really diminish the quality of the production but I could do all of that, and maybe then I could max out my TFSA and RSP. Maybe. I say maybe because what if you get hit with something? Oh, guess what? There's been a family emergency and you have to fly to another part of the country.
The hydro rates are going up 128% in 1 year, like in Alberta.
Things of that nature. So, yeah, is it possible I could have saved that money? Sure. But the problem is, again, as I've said time and time again, productivity has gone up exponentially over the last 50 years. Incomes have not kept steady. They have not kept pace with productivity or inflation, for that matter.
Right.
I earned, again, in 2024, I earned $20,000 less than what I earned in 2016. And people will say, well, get a better job. Yes, I'll just go to the job tree and just pick one and demand that they pay me more, because so many employers are willing to actually pay you a living fucking wage right now.
Yep.
It's no secret that the system isn't broken. The system is designed this way.
But Pierre's got extra room in a TFSA for you.
Good to know. Is he going to fund it? Because apparently he throws around $75,000 checks like nobody's business. Maybe he'll throw $75,000 my way, and I'll max out my TFSA. And even then, I'd still have room.
Maybe if you participate in the TVA debate on behalf of the Liberals, he'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, shit. Did I say that out loud?
Yeah, you did.
Darn.
You did.
Oh, bitchy queen. Darn.
It happens.
Oh, well. Yeah. Let's move on to his next problem. It will be the Mike DeJong tweet that you see the link for.
Yeah,
it seems that one of the things that Skippy did not do, and I noted this in a previous show, that I was surprised that, considering how inevitable he was, that at the start of the election, the Conservatives of all the parties didn't have all their nomination seats filled. Right? The Liberals, we knew they had trouble recruiting people, so was the NDP, but the Conservatives, they were telling us they were ready to go now, but they only had 236 or something like that of the 343 seats filled. Well, now it seems that they are hand-picking candidates now and just parachuting them in. So this gentleman here, Mike DeJong, is one of the candidates who was trying to go through a nomination process and then was told that he was not going to be good enough, that they were going to put somebody else. So now he's running as an independent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, hand-picking candidates is something that always makes the news. Oh my God, they're hand-picking candidates and they're destroying the grassroots and whatnot. And there are times you can do that. Like, for example, if you're Mark Carney and you've just come in and there are a whole bunch of seats that are not filled and people wanting to come in now that they want to be associated with you and you have a chance of winning, and say, hey, I'm going to parachute this person in. And, you'll hear a little grumbling here and there like this, but normally it never goes anywhere. Right? Or if you're not the new person, but you're leading by a lot, like Doug Ford, for example, and says, yeah, I'm just going to handpick this person, put them in there. Oh, you can't do that. And like, yeah, watch me.
Yeah, watch me.
But when you are losing an election that you were supposed to win and the bottom is falling out, and you turn around and say, I'm going to handpick rather than listen to the grassroots, that does not go well for you. That does not go well for you at all. So he was asked about it by David Akin. Now, if you remember, David Akin, during one of Pierre's first conferences as leader, was the big guy in the prison yard that Pierre Poilièvre took a swing at.
Mm-hmm.
Called him a liberal hack. David Akin, formerly of the Toronto Sun.
Yeah, I think you're referring to this little.
Yes. So I think David might have been munching on some popcorn while asking this question too.
David Akin, Global News. Good afternoon, and thank you
David.
To our Alamo hosts for being such gracious hosts and helpful to us as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I want to ask about some conservatives who are upset in this election. This is my 7th campaign. I've never had so many calls from grassroots conservatives upset that head office is choosing the candidates. In St. John, the president of the EDA quit. In Penticton, just a couple of days ago, 4 candidates running. No, head office says it's going to be this person. They say frustrated beyond belief. In Richmond, you could have had Kenny Chu or Wai Young. Nope, head office appointed somebody else. And then there's Mike DeYoung in Abbotsford. People are scratching their heads. Ian Black sat beside Mike in Gordon Campbell's cabinet, but Mike didn't make the cut. So the question is, why, on behalf of conservative grassroots members, why can't conservative grassroots choose their own candidate? And what was so defective about Mike DeYoung?
Okay, prepare yourselves for this.
David Aiken loved asking that question.
Oh yeah, you know he did. Prepare yourselves. If you've not seen this, prepare yourselves for this.
Put the drink down.
Response, because it's not an answer, it's a response. And I'm going to compare and contrast it to something after he's done. This is a bit of a surprise for you, but you'll love it.
Thanks very much, David. And I know that you've always been such a great champion of grassroots conservatives. So thank you for claiming to be their spokesman. Listen, the reality is that conservatives are going to have solid candidates right across the country. We're going to put Canada first. We're going to put Canada first by bringing home our jobs, axing taxes, building homes, and breaking the dependence that the Liberals have forced on Canada relative to the United States of America. We will have strong candidates who are small business people, doctors, local philanthropic champions, and other people who are legends in the communities that they represent. They will be strong. They will be standing up for the workers and the people in this country who've been left behind.
Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
Oh no.
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
No.
So that is all I heard from Pierre Poilièvre in that instance. And here's what I got to say about that. Kudos to Mario Lopez for the professionalism he exhibited in that clip.
Yes.
Because yikes! But that was his response. Gibberish, nonsensical. Didn't answer the question. Verb the noun. Noun the verb.
Yeah. I always feel bad with that clip because I could not imagine being in that moment and just drawing a blank like that and just.
And hear me out. I'm not
like she drew a blank. Yeah.
I'm not making fun of her. I'm not. I felt for her. I watched that live and went, "Oh God, that poor kid."
Right.
But I'm using it as a compare and contrast in this instance because he basically did the same thing.
Yeah. No. And he did this, but like I said, the main difference is. She blanked.
Yes.
This was a deliberate non-answer.
Correct.
This was a strategy.
I mean, he fouled it up horribly. But
yes.
Again, he didn't answer the question.
He did not. Now, number one, Pierre should know why. This Mr. DeYoung, I will go out on a limb, and was not deemed unsuitable for any reason having to do with an association with foreign interference. So it's not a state secret. The party leader probably would know why. And we know that it's not also state secret because, well, they were able to take action on it, whatever it was. Because Pierre keeps on saying that if he was told a state secret, then he wouldn't be able to take action, which means nobody would have sent a message to Mr. DeYoung that he was not suitable enough. Right? So we know Trudeau didn't gag him. So he should be able to say why. but can't. Now, you will notice that Pierre also has a Mulcair problem, and a lot of people noticed it in the last clip we showed of him a few days ago, where suddenly he's smiling a lot. So somebody gave him the advice that you need to smile, laugh, and joke more. They shouldn't have, and he shouldn't, because it really doesn't work. I mean, did you see that? That was what David tried to laugh that off and make a joke, and and this is like 2-3 times now he's tried to make a joke, right?
Oh, yes.
Right at his launch, and it's just like the man cannot human.
No, he's incapable of it.
Stop telling him to smile more. It just looks creepy, like was the case with Tom Mulcair. Tom Mulcair was angry. He needed to lean in to the angry. Like this one, they tried to make him likable and smile more. It just was weird. It didn't fit. Pierre is way too angry. Way too angry. It's like Mulcair angry on steroids, right? But Mulcair worked because he was using it as the prosecutor in chief in the House of Commons, because he could actually string together a sentence that actually had a cogent argument within it. Something that could actually stand up in court. This guy just puts stuff together that sounds good. It's not authentic. It's just not authentic. Nobody believes that he was delighted to receive that question. Right? Come on. So, and the thing is that if the liberals behaved like the conservatives, right, they would have gotten that question about somebody in their riding that wasn't allowed to run, like they did with Ariashandra, and later said, well, I wasn't leader at the time, and we have a green light committee, and they made that decision. And, I respect it. I guess. But he didn't then turn around and say, right, well, hey, these conservatives, you got to ask them about this De Jong guy. Maybe they're in the cahoots with the Dutch.
Yeah, the nation we helped liberate during World War II.
The Secretary General of NATO is somehow Dutch, and they've always wanted us to spend more in defense. Maybe there's something there. Seems a little shady to me. Right? It's like, because that's literally what he did the other day. Well, I'm glad you asked me that, because I'm really concerned about his deals with China. All of a sudden, he can say China, right? Amazing. So, this guy keeps on looking like a deer in the headlights. Trump talks about tariffs. Carbon tax, Cardi. Right? That happened about a month or so ago. What about your guy that's no longer being approved? Well, gee, I know you like grassroots politics, David Aiken. We got to build those homes, and we got to act the homes and build the crime and stop the... Oh, darn, shit. I can't remember them anymore. Like the article said, this is time to keep calm and carry on, not freak out and panic and break stuff. Every day, he has been knocked off message, either by Danielle or his lack of security clearance, not approving candidate nominations, having internal polling company by supposedly friendly parties dropped out on him. He has not controlled the message one day. No. And then there's one last, more issues actually, but one last big issue that might come out and be a problem for him. Mr. Grizzly, we're going to skip to the thing from The Breach. There's an article that came out the other day that's not getting a lot of big media attention right now, but possibly could if there's a day during which immigration becomes an issue. Would you read the headline by The Breach in that tweet?
Deeply hypocritical, Pierre Poilièvre slammed illegal border crossers, but his own relative crossed and stayed.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Poilièvre's uncle lived undocumented in Canada and received help from her and an MP. The Conservative leader has said such an individual should be tracked down and deported. I'm sorry, what?
This is by Martin Lukash. Yeah. In late July 2018, Pierre Poilièvre took aim at illegal border crossers. How much will it cost to house the illegal border crossers in hotels in the coming year? He repeatedly asked during a parliamentary committee hearing, criticizing the Liberal government for helping shelter thousands of asylum seekers who had entered the country through Roxham Road in Quebec. Who will pay for it? And then, as Mr. Grizzly says, 2 months later,
the Conservative leader's own uncle-in-law crossed Roxham Road on foot.
After failing to get his refugee claim approved, he appears to have lived undocumented in Canada with a deportation order in his name. According to documents obtained by the breach, Poilièvre's relative, the uncle of his wife Anaïda Poilièvre, received help from her and an undisclosed MP's office in 2021 in his efforts to get permanent residency. He has since been seen attending Conservative events as recently as 2023, according to photos examined by the breach. Poilièvre has said a Conservative government would, quote, have the resources to, quote, track down such individuals and deport them. Quote, these are people who are not eligible to be here, and we will find them and we will deport them, Pierre told a Montreal radio station in December. The Conservative leader has taken an increasingly hard line on asylum seekers entering Canada, calling to shut down Roxham Road, where tens of thousands crossed in recent years, fleeing hardship or persecution. At his election campaign launch on Sunday, Poilièvre said he would put a hard cap on immigration and take other measures. We will keep out and deport criminals, stop fraud, and crack down on bogus refugee claims, he said. On immigration, like everything else, we will put Canada first. Refugee advocacy organizations say his position appears to be his family first. Quote, it is deeply hypocritical that Poilièvre has vilified migrants, blamed them for the housing and affordability crisis, and said he wants to deport undocumented people who are in the same situation his own family seemed to be in, said Sayed Hussan, the executive director of the Migrant Workers Alliance for Change. If Poilièvre's family deserves to make life here, so does everybody else's. Yeah. Anaïda Poilièvre's uncle, Venezuelan lawyer Jose Gerardo Galindo Prato, had previously entered Canada in 2004 and lived without documentation until 2007 when he was deported by Canadian border agents. So if we're still talking about him, he's a recidivist as well. Back in Venezuela, Galindo Prato was convicted in 2017 of helping a drug trafficker escape from prison and served 6 months in prison, which he says was a trumped-up false charge. In the fall of 2018, he flew to Miami, then to Pittsburgh, and then later crossed at Roxham Road. The breach obtained a draft copy of Galindo Prato's written submission to Immigration Canada from early 2021, applying to stay on humanitarian and compassionate grounds, which Anaïda Poilièvre helped him prepare. At this stage of the asylum process, he would have already failed his refugee application and been served with a deportation order, according to an immigration lawyer the breach consulted. According to email and Facebook correspondence seen by the breach, Anaïda Poilièvre organized the drafting and mailing of the submission with assistance from a parliamentarian. In one message, she wrote that she had, quote, a person helping in an MP's office. In another, she was even more direct. Quote, I'm trying to help my uncle, she wrote, and the MP can help us. At the time, she worked as an executive assistant in the office of Conservative MP Michael Cooper, a close ally of Pierre Poilièvre. Since Poilièvre became leader, she has taken an active leadership role herself, narrating ads, introducing her husband at major events, and playing a key role in fundraising for the party. The revelations about an undocumented family member raised questions about whether Pierre Poilièvre was in any way involved in advocating for his uncle-in-law to stay in the country, despite his outspoken rhetoric against, quote, illegal border crossings. In December 2024, Poilièvre called for Canada to bulk up the security at the border, including by deputizing provincial police and cracking down on, quote, false refugee claims. Quote, we need to shut off the flow of false refugee claims who are no danger in their country of origin, but who are sneaking in either through our porous border, through our weak visa system, and then when they're here making a false claim, he said. Galindo Prato's written submission, which the immigration lawyer verified, looks like a typical example, says he was persecuted and jailed without trial in Venezuela. But online court documents from the Venezuelan Supreme Court of Justice indicate he was charged with helping a drug trafficker escape from prison while he served as a legal consultant in a psychiatric clinic. Because refugee and immigration proceedings are highly confidential, the breach could not confirm whether Galindo Prato has received his permanent residency. But the breach was able to identify Galindo Prato sitting with the rest of Anaïda Poilièvre's family in the front row at the Conservative Party convention in Quebec City in August 2023. Quote, I love real refugees, Poilièvre said in December. Our country was built in large part by real refugees who are genuinely fleeing danger, like my wife. But I have no time for people who lie to come into our country, and that is the problem we have to cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah. In his submission to Immigration Canada, Galindo Prato writes that he was detained without trial after making allegations about corruption within the Venezuelan government. He said he was held for almost 5 months in a 3x4 meter cell where he was beaten and deprived of clean water, medical care, and adequate nutrition. But according to the court documents filed in the Supreme Court of Venezuela by the Public Prosecutor's Office and in Venezuelan media coverage, Galindo Prato was charged with the crime of helping the escape of a convicted drug trafficker while he was serving as the legal consultant for a psychiatric clinic. Already mentioned that previously in the report. Galindo Prato did not reply to multiple attempts to reach him through direct messages to his social media accounts, and Ida Poilièvre did not reply to a request for comment by time of publication. A Conservative campaign spokesperson provided a written statement to the breach that Mr. Galindo Prato has pursued his case through established channels, including with the use of an immigration lawyer. While MPs may make requests for information, MPs do not have the ability to influence immigration cases, the spokesperson wrote. It is certainly ridiculous to suggest that opposition Conservative MPs would be able to influence cases under a Liberal government. In fact, parliamentarians frequently advocate for the immigration minister to expedite immigration's applications, including for undocumented people. Quote, this is a disgusting smear of Ms. Poilièvre's extended family who have been subjected to persecution and political repression in Venezuela, and we will not be commenting further, the spokesperson added. And then they have a quote of the Facebook post in which Anaïda Poilièvre defended her uncle. And it says her Facebook post has since been deleted.
How convenient.
Mm-hmm. So that may or may not brew up as another thing that he's going to have to deal with. And Mr. Grizzly, yesterday evening, 2 more appeared. I just sent you an extra email with these bonus links. One is from MP Mark Gerritsen, right here in Kingston, because Pierre Poilièvre, as you know, made this big claim when he was making the claim about Carney's personal allegedly involvement in Brookfield, that it was such a shame that someone would profit off the housing crisis, and the people who profit off the housing crisis should not be the people that you should trust to solve it. Mr. Grizzly, would you please read what it is that Mr. Gerritsen added to the public record?
The most recent filing with the Ethics Commission reveals that Pierre Poilièvre's investments include Vanguard FTSE Canada Index ETF. One of the top assets in that fund is Brookfield, the investment firm where Mark Carney was formerly chair of the board. Pierre Poilièvre may desperately attack Brookfield, but Poilièvre invests in Brookfield. Whatever Poilièvre says publicly, even Poilièvre believes Brookfield is a good investment.
Okay. Now, if we are going to be fair, this comes from Kit Kirk. The core factual claims may be true. Poilièvre probably holds the Vanguard FTSE Canada Index ETF, plausible for a Canadian politician, and Brookfield is likely a significant holding in that ETF, based on typical index weightings. Poilièvre has publicly criticized Brookfield, especially in relation to Carney. However, the hypocrisy angle is overstated. Investing in an ETF doesn't mean Poilièvre endorses Brookfield, and his criticisms aren't about its financial viability, but its leadership and decisions. The information is mostly accurate, but spun to make Poilièvre look inconsistent. It's a political jab more than a smoking gun. True.
Correct.
All true.
All true. No, and I was going to suggest that, but thank you for reading that into the record. But because I was going to say, he invests in that fund. Brookfield is the main port. He probably is not even aware of that.
Exactly.
But
Now,
he should be.
But he should be, exactly. Because, like I said, did have a specific criticism of people profiting on housing. So if you're going to do that, and if you have not divested all of your controlled assets into a blind trust, and this is the irony, that none of this would be a story today had Pierre divested all of his assets into a blind trust as soon as he became leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. But he didn't. He controls his assets. And you would think that someone who is willing to go there, as he was on Carney, would certainly make sure that they went through all their ETFs to see what they hold before doing that. If one actually was a clever strategist, one would probably do that. And if you're making a big deal on housing and planning to maybe attack someone on housing, you probably would want to get rid of ETFs that have anything to do with housing.
I mean, it's really cutting off his nose to spite his own face, because this is who he is. And again, I will say in his defense, he may not have known that.
Yeah.
It's a fun.
Was it meticulous enough to check? And it's an ETF, right?
Exactly.
You're not supporting one. It's a basket. You're taking a sector.
Correct.
Right?
However, again, he should know.
He opened the door.
You did.
If you're going to open the door to the attack, then you should make sure that there's not a riposte available. Now, it's not a smoking gun, but it is one of those gotchas that is fairly easy to understand, and fair or not, plays really well. Grandma can understand this. Right? And that investing in an ETF doesn't mean that he endorses Brookfield. It's true. Just as a company as big as is Brookfield Asset Management making a deal with their second largest trading partner, for someone who was there for FIPA, no less, doesn't mean Carney himself endorses the communist government of China. And just like a high-level official fulfilling their basic fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders by complying to new rules doesn't mean that Carney personally somehow betrayed his country or bowed to anyone. Of course, all of this is silly and petty.
Oh, yes.
But then again, petty
That's your favorite color.
But this line of attack does not highlight the best leadership qualities of someone in an election in which leadership qualities is mattering a lot.
Indeed.
Every day that you are spending talking about whether or not Carney is ethical is a day you are not telling Canadians what it is you are willing to do for them.
Well, he still won't get his security clearance. So what is he hiding? He downright refuses to get his clearance.
Yep.
And his reasoning is bullshit.
Yep. And the second thing that he also has going.
Oh, this one. Yeah. I'll
Yes.
put it on the screen here because it's a thing of beauty. Bruce Fanjoy with surprised eyes. I've met Bruce, by the way. Really nice gentleman. New Canadian election poll projects that Pierre Poilièvre will lose his seat. Bruce Fanjoy is the Liberal candidate running in that riding.
For about a year and a half or 2 years now?
Yes.
Nomination's been
Long
approved?
before there was an election. He's knocked on, I think, every door in that riding.
Probably twice by now.
Oh, yeah. I had a chance to meet him at a memorial for Scribula Toro, who had passed away from cancer. We were at the Spark Street corner of Sparks and Elgin Irish pub, Darcy McGee's.
Right.
We had a memorial for her there and raised a pint of Guinness, and there were some speeches given, and everybody. We went around and everybody had, their commentary, and I had a chance to have a chat with Bruce, and I said, if you ever want to come on the show, and he says, I said, no, I understand. There's no election called. You're just trying to drum up interest, and this is what you're going to do. And I understand if you want to wait, but we would love to have you as a guest anytime you want. And I said, you can watch our show. I sent him a link. I said, we do not do got you. And we've had conservatives on this show, and we're not doing got you journalism. That's not who we are. When we invite you as a guest, we're having a chat with you. It's not an interview as much as it is a conversation.
We want to get to know you.
Yes.
See what makes you tick. Yeah. So, yeah. Danielle stick it to him. Ford sticking it to him. Dropping in the polls. Flubbing basic questions on candidates. Not parachuting candidates in at a time when he does not have the luxury of saying, well, hey, we're winning, or you just sit back and take it. You'll see it'll work. Trust me. Because everything around him is tanking. his Brookfield arguments flopping. I mean, and pundits and journalists openly laughing about him and his plight. It's not good.
No, it's not. It's not good at all.
Glub.
Yeah.
Again, should have been nicer to people on the way up, buddy.
Should have been.
But you thought you had it like that, so you behaved like you had it like that. And turns out you didn't. You know, by the time this is over, this might be the political version of Murder on the Orient Express, where absolutely everybody he's been nasty to sticks a knife in his back somewhere along the way as he's going down. And I'm here for it. I should. I've got Peepin' Freud. Peepin' Freud, making me glad that I'm not you. All right, Mr. Grizzly, do you have a little bit of endurance, or?
Yeah, I do, and I've got a couple of things I wanted to go over very quickly. This one I think is you'll get a kick out of. This is from the Beaverton. I'll put the headline up and just read it in because I think it's quite brilliant. Conservative man discovers secret trick to getting elected PM, running as Liberal. Politics. Political scientists hate him for discovering a new way to be a conservative prime minister. Let me just blow this up a bit so it's easier to see. And he can show you how to do it too. It's the second episode of the relaunched Beaverton Weekly Report. The writ has dropped and it hit Pierre Poilièvre directly on the head. Luke in the panel, Megan McKay, Claire Blackwood, and Niall Seguin talk Daniel Smith's disastrous Breitbart interview, Pierre Poilièvre getting by with a little help from his friends in the Indian government, Mark Carney's brilliant strategy of being a sane conservative in liberal clothes, and Green Party's Hydra-esque leadership structure. Also, we spend 3 minutes discussing the television series Reacher for some reason. I thought that was worth a discussion.
You got hit in the head by the writ.
Yeah. Then I wanted to show you this thing, and then I have a video clip for you as well. So this is at Jessa_McLean on the Twitter, and she says here, no room for journalists on Pierre Poilièvre's plane. Yeah, no room for journalists, apparently.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, really. That's a big ass plane.
That's a big ass plane.
That's what happens when you raise $40-something million, right?
Yeah, well,
you can all invest it all into an extension of your phallus.
And of course, because Pierre Poilièvre has been called out by David Aiken yesterday and Mark Gerritsen, he does this. Exclusive. Mark Carney faces plagiarism accusations for his 1995 Oxford doctoral thesis. Carney's doctorate in economics from Oxford shows 10 instances of apparent plagiarism, according to academics who reviewed the material.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Like, talk about a reach.
Wow. Okay. You know that your Carney is somehow pedo-related thing didn't work when a couple weeks later he may have plagiarized his doctorate thesis. By the way, at a rally, apparently somebody in the audience yelled about, what is your connection to Epstein? And then the audience booed and they pulled him out. So apparently they've got minions now going to Carney rallies yelling.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
Because again, that's what you do when it's going well and you're winning.
Yeah. You go really low.
Yeah.
So let's listen to 1 minute and 17 seconds of history, because this is historical.
Okay, I have the clip for the whole thing. Okay, but that's okay. It'll just be repeated. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperations, is over. What exactly the United States does next is unclear. But what is clear is that we as Canadians have agency. We have power. We are masters in our own home. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. We can control our destiny. We can give ourselves much more than any foreign government, including the United States, can ever take away. We can deal with this crisis best by building our strength right here at home. It will take hard work. It will take steady and focused determination from governments, from businesses, from labor, from Canadians. We will need to dramatically reduce our reliance on the United States. We will need to pivot our trade relationships elsewhere. And we will need to do things previously thought impossible at speeds we haven't seen in generations.
That is history.
Yeah.
That is wild. Look, the set of cojones he had to come out and say that. I mean, basically, okay, America, we're cutting you loose. We're cutting you loose. That's it. Our relationship is over. We want a divorce. And if you won't leave, we will.
It's not me, it's you.
It is you. Exactly. It's not me. No, it is you.
It's all you.
It's all you.
Oh, man. So, all right. Let's see a little bit how we got there because, yeah, yesterday tariffs happened. By the way, during through all that thrashing and in the water and glubbing that Pierre is doing, tariffs happened. Now, it seems that, again, we needed to wait to see all the fine print. And this is really weird what's going on here, but it seems that the plan is, and we got the best of a bad deal, as Mark Carney is going to say in this press conference, but it seems that the plan right now is that it's not the cars itself, but every single part in the car. So they want us to go back and say every single part in the car. Is it Canadian? Is it American? Is it foreign? Like this. And then each one of those little parts that is not American and also, or not covered by the CUSMA deal, NAFTA 2, gets tariffed. Now, that is nearly impossible. I mean, it is possible, but the problem is that there are like 20,000 parts in an engine. Individual parts. How many parts are there in an entire car? And then even in the parts, it's been explained, like, some type of rivet or whatnot that would go in. Well, you get the steel and the aluminum from here, and it gets changed into some type of sheet metal here, and then it goes into the United States to be turned into that part, and then it comes back here to be perfected, and then it gets put in the engine, and then the engine goes back to be put in the...
Well,
and are we tarifing that at 25%? And how do we know which portion of that particular part is American? It just gets so finite. And Trump says it's a simple system. It's not a simple system, because if you have to do that for each one of those parts, and here's the other thing, is even the Americans, when they count those parts, they count Canada and US together as one.
Correct.
They always have. Right, so they would have to separate. So even the United States recognizes that, as it's always recognized until now, that it's been so integrated that they can't differentiate between the Canadian and an American part, or that it's not worth it. So this is not something that's going to be done real quickly, and of course that gives them a second opportunity for more tariffs. Well, this is all the stuff that we're going to do now that we know of like this, but all those individual parts we're going to go in and we're going to go with technical analysis, and then we'll come back with more stuff later. Right, and if they do that with the level of meticulousness that they've been doing the Doge stuff, it's that's going to be a great process. So it seems that, compared to everyone, we do have the least amount of tariffs, but it's such an incredibly complicated system that's being proposed, that it just cannot be but doomed to fail.
Well, if you look at here, this is a screen grab I've got from an interview with Avis Favreau and Flavio Volpe. And look, Mexico, U.S., Canada, Mexico, U.S., Canada, Mexico, like this is just the rear suspension assembly.
Yeah. So the objective is they want to go down right to the granular, to each individual part. Say like this: if this is not at least 50% American content, it is foreign, and therefore you get tariffed on it.
It's going to crash the auto sector.
But again, with what public servants? They're firing them all to do the calculations, right? I mean, it's when they're still talking about small. This is the party allegedly of small government. Go down and look at your product, break it down. Like literally vivisect it into all these tiny little pieces, and then analyze each piece and say how much is from here and how much, and then tell us that, and then we'll. Do you know how many years that would be as a process just to get that done?
Unbelievable.
It's just, and all the additional cost that's being. Listen, I mean, I guess it's a good way to create jobs. All the people that have to do that intricate analysis, like, come on.
Well, wait a minute. How is Doge gonna?
That's really gonna be great for productivity. No, wait, we got to stop and analyze all of this, and then keep on changing the rules again and again and again and again.
That part is 75% Canadian aluminum. Okay, but you can't build the car without that part. So you're going to tariff that 25%?
No, we're going to build it at home. With what aluminum?
What? With what? We have it. We have all the stuff you need.
We'll import it from another country that we can punch harder with more tariffs, who will just give it to us or something. I don't know what the thinking is, but it just doesn't.
There is no thinking. That's it. There's no thinking.
It makes no sense.
No.
So that's what we're dealing with right now, right? It's an impossible tariff thing. So there's a weird thing that happened before Carney delivered his notes, his address. I don't know if you have it there. Just the post next to weird. But it seems that some people decided, who were at the press conference, that it was a good idea to just walk up to the podium and take pictures.
Sorry, I thought you meant a different one. Hang on.
Yeah.
I'll show that in a sec. I want to show this too, because somebody pointed this out to me, and I went, huh. This is Pierre Poilièvre yesterday in Brampton at a deli, and because he's doesn't have his women's training.
On Monday, there was a quick trip to a Polish deli in Mississauga.
We're cutting the ham and the taxes so that you can bring.
There's nothing in that meat slicer. There's nothing in it. He's not properly trained. It's not turned on, and there's nothing in it because he's not properly trained on how to use it. I had to show you that because it was
he didn't want to get his meat slicer clearance.
I guess.
Oh, bad beaver. bad beaver.
Well, and this is the other weird one that you were talking about. I had mixed up. My apologies, but this is while waiting for PM Carney to speak on tariffs from USA. This individual actually went up and took pics of his speech. Who does that?
That's literally the words I had in my head that I was just about to say. Who does that?
Who does that? Like, and why?
He's going to read them in a couple of seconds.
You're going to hear it. And and by the way, because it's a speech, it will be public record.
And it's always check against.
You think you're going to get missed or something?
Oh my God! And when it's public record, it always is written check against delivery anyway. Okay, so let's start this here. The first 5 minutes here is how Mr. Carney, leader of the Liberal Party, broaches the subject. It's some standard thing that you would expect, but it's good to see, because this is the first time he's now actually addressing tariffs now that they're real.
Good afternoon. Bonjour tout le monde. Today, my cabinet colleagues and I met to discuss Canada's response to the latest developments in the trade crisis. Yesterday, in the latest salvo in his trade war, President Trump again imposed unjustified tariffs on our nation in violation of our existing trade agreements. This time, he targeted the auto industry and the more than 500,000 hardworking, dedicated Canadians that industry supports across our country. Now, the President of the United States is trying to fundamentally restructure his economy. It means our economy, and it means the global economy as well. And I understand and respect his goal to support American workers, but I disagree with him that this is how to help them. With time, it will become apparent that these actions will end up hurting American workers and American consumers. I reject any attempts to weaken Canada, to wear us down, to break us so that America can own us. That will never happen. And our response to these latest tariffs is to fight, is to protect, and to build. We will fight the U.S. tariffs with retaliatory trade actions of our own that will have maximum impact in the United States and minimum impacts here in Canada. We will protect our workers and our industries during this difficult period. But above all, we will build a new Canadian economy. We will build Canada strong.
You guys going to move to French to fight for our workers?
Oh, sorry. No,
He puts enough gaps so I can do it.
Canada fort. Il est évident que les États-Unis ne sont
It's
plus
evident that the
un
United States
partenaire fiable.
are no longer a
Il se
reliable
peut
partner.
qu'avec les négociations compréhensives, on puisse rétablir un élément de confiance.
It is possible that with comprehensive negotiations that we could get back to a level of confidence, but there will be no going back.
Tous ceux qui suivront aura une relation fondamentalement différente.
Everything that follows will have a fundamentally different relationship with the United States.
This sobering reality is the first step to taking necessary actions to defend our nation. But it's only the first step. Last night, the President of the United States reached out to schedule a call. I appreciate this opportunity to discuss how we can protect our workers and build our economies. I will make clear to the President that those interests are best served by cooperation and mutual respect, including of our sovereignty. Entre-temps, je viens de tenir une rencontre avec
just had a meeting
comité ministériel Canada-États-Unis.
with my Canada-US Cabinet Relations Committee. I will have a meeting with the premiers that will take place tomorrow, and I will meet my Canada-US Relations Advisory Board tomorrow. And I will speak to industry leaders, unions leaders, and Indigenous leaders. These discussions will allow us
ce que le président décidera le faire le 2 avril.
to have a plan
Il a menacé d'imposer des droits de douane supplémentaires.
depending on what the president will announce on April 2nd when he's going to announce additional retaliatory tariffs, so that we are all on the same page. We will answer with strength. Nothing is excluded to defend our country.
We won't back down. We will respond forcefully. Nothing is off the table to defend our workers and our country. Now, to my fellow Canadians, I don't want to set unreasonable expectations. The road ahead will be long. There is no silver bullet. There is no quick fix. And I know and I understand that many are feeling anxious and worried about the future. Fundamental change is always unsettling. But I have every confidence in our country because I understand what President Trump does not. That we love Canada with every fiber of our being. Because we are stronger when we are together, and Canadians are uniting as never before. Now, we are going to have to live the lessons of recent months. First, that we have to look out for ourselves, and second, that we have to look out for each other. The federal government will do everything in its power to protect Canadian workers and businesses. We will be here for you every step of the way. In the past week, my government committed to use every dollar collected from our retaliatory tariffs to protect our workers. Et la semaine dernière, j'ai annoncé plusieurs mesures ciblées.
I announced several targeted measures, temporary measures, to support workers and employees directly touched by Trump's tariff war. We have eliminated the wait time to apply for employment insurance.
Nous avons fait en sorte qu'il n'ait pas à épuiser leur indemnité de licenciement avant de toucher l'assurance emploi et nous avons facilité
People will not have to wait for their employment reports in order to apply.
Pour les entreprises, nous avons reporté les paiements d'impôts sur le revenu ainsi que les versements de la TPS et de la TVH.
Okay, let's stop that for a second. I believe that in that last one, because it was a little hard to understand, that they're reducing, that they're probably reducing some taxes with regard to way payroll taxes are charged or something like that, or removing the HST and GST off something. I wasn't able to quite exactly make it out, but I'll go back and try to find that for you as this is going on.
One of the things I'd like to make as a comment here, he's doing some things, speeding up EI and getting rid of the wait bit. That's great. You don't need your O. That's great too. Could we increase the amount though? Because the maximum is $120 more than CERB. Is what you take home, because that is taxed, right?
Right.
It's not like here's $2,000. It's like over the course of a month, every 2 weeks, you send in your report, and your maximum amount, I think after taxes, around $1,100. So you're basically getting barely above CERB. It's not enough. It isn't enough to pay all your bills. So we'll go back and continue on.
Mécanisme de financement pour leur fournir de liquidité. C'est une aide financière énorme.
You might have to go back a little bit there, Mr. Grizzly.
Pour les entreprises, nous avons
For businesses,
reporté les paiements d'impôts sur le revenu,
we have delayed
ainsi que les versements de la
income
TPS
taxes on revenue as well as
TVH.
Okay, as well as HST and GST repayments from companies. We're having better terms of financing to provide liquidity so that companies can get through this tough period. And we have increased the financing of regional development
Our biggest
agencies.
challenge as a country is becoming the most urgent. Over the coming weeks, months, and years, we must fundamentally reimagine our economy. We will need to ensure that Canada can succeed in a drastically different world. The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperation, is over. What exactly the United States does next is unclear. But what is clear is that we, as Canadians, have agency. We have power. We are masters in our own home. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. We can control our destiny. We can give ourselves much more than any foreign government, including the United States, can ever take away. We can deal with this crisis best by building our strength right here at home. It will take hard work. It will take steady and focused determination from governments, from businesses, from labor, from Canadians. We will need to dramatically reduce our reliance on the United States. We will need to pivot our trade relationships elsewhere. And we will need to do things previously thought impossible at speeds we haven't seen in generations. But we can make ourselves more productive and therefore more competitive. We can break down internal trade barriers. We can build a stronger and more resilient economy. And that's what I'm squarely focused on as your Prime Minister. During my first 9 days as Prime Minister, I came to an agreement with the provinces and territories to remove all exemptions under the Canada Free Trade Agreement. As the federal government, we created a first mile fund to provide capital to build transmission and transportation networks to link extraction sites to rail lines and roads. Nous mettons en place une procédure d'approbation à
We're putting in place an approval process, one-stop shopping.
Nous éliminons les excisions fédérales créant des doublons en reconnaissant
We are
les
removing
évaluations provinciales pour les grands projets. Un projet,
federal
un examen.
demands for large evaluations. There will be one project, one evaluation. Between now and July 1st,
Supprimons les barrières fédérales qui empêchent les provinces et les territoires de faire un commerce les unes avec les autres.
we will eliminate barriers that prevent
My
provinces
government is
from
committed
doing
to removing
business
any
one with the other.
labor mobility restrictions for federally regulated professions by Canada Day. And we're now working with the provinces to identify projects of national significance in order to accelerate the time frame to build them. Hier, je me suis engagé à créer un fonds de réponse
I committed
stratégique
myself
pour le secteur
to
automobile.
create a form of strategic response for the automobile sector,
les emplois des travailleurs
something that will protect the jobs of the workers who are being affected by Trump's tariffs.
Canada network of supply chains for the auto manufacturing components straight through to Canadian steel and aluminum and critical minerals. And we committed today to create similar strategies in other sectors that are under threat from President Trump's tariffs. All of these initiatives will go a very long way to offsetting the costs of these tariffs if they are permanent, and they will help to realize our potential as a nation. But there's even more to do. And that's why I chose to go to France and the United Kingdom, two long-standing and reliable partners, friends, and allies of Canada. And it's why the time will come for a broad renegotiation of our security and trade relationship with the United States. It's why I will work intensively with our partners in business, in labor, the territories and the provinces to find more ways to help Canadians through this crisis and to ensure that our great country emerges stronger than ever. In recent weeks, Canadians have done their part to unite in defense of our country. To unite also in defense of our way of life. It's my solemn promise as your Prime Minister to do the same. It's my solemn promise that when President Trump threatens us again, we will fight back. We will fight back with everything we have to get the best deal for Canada. We will build an independent future for our country, stronger than ever. We will stand up for Canadian workers. We will stand up for Canadian business. We will stand up for our history, our values, and our sovereignty. We will stand together to build Canada strong, Canada free, Canada forever. Thank you. Merci, and I'll be happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
All right. So, first impressions, Mr. Grizzly.
Saying all the right things that need to be said at a time when they need to be said. His historical statement of the relationship is over is it's incredible. I never thought I'd hear it. And I never thought if I did hear it, I'd be happy to hear it. But I am in this instance. He's doing all the things that are necessary to keep us whole.
Yeah.
We're in a time of crisis, folks. This is
definitely
very
are.
similar to the beginning of COVID. Very similar. So he's doing the right things. I got to jump. She's really needs out.
Yep.
So I'll jump out. I can join on my phone, but I'll see you shortly.
I'll just close off the section and then end the show.
Okay. Okay. So you got it from here?
Yeah, I got it from here.
All right, folks. I'll see you. You take care. Bye.
All right. So there was a Q&A session afterwards. I guess we won't go into clips because Mr. Grizzly's done. But to just summarize it, in the first question that he answers, there's something very interesting that happens. There's actually 4 really interesting things. First of all, the first question is in French rather than the last question. The question comes from a journalist from TVA, the network where the debate will not happen. In it, when he's finished his answer in French, he actually, Carney himself translates the question himself and then answers in English. So that's a new step there. He's feeling comfortable with the language. And when he answers the question in French, the follow-up, he actually answers it at length. It gives a substantive answer that's, that's really meaty. So you can tell that he's getting way more comfortable with the language as the days go by. And remember, Mr. Carney did have pretty good French when he was governor's, but he hadn't had to use it so much, so he's trying to get some of it back. Tonda Charles had asked questions about the negotiations itself, and he was making it very clear how much he was willing to state in public and not. And saying that with a good negotiation, how much you're not going to put too much out on the table, because she was like being asked like how much, which specific things, when. It's like we're not going to reveal all of that just now. There were some comments about the escalation threat, because Donald Trump basically came out and says, if you do something with Europe to try to get around this, well, then there'll be more punishment. And then Senator Patrick Brazeau actually put out a tweet with regard to that, that I'm going to say trigger warning for anybody who's been in an abusive relationship. But you might recognize this type of thing. He said, in other words, I don't want to date you anymore, even though we had a very good relationship without too many problems. But if you dare try to date someone else, watch my vengeance. In other words, if I can't have you, no one else can. It appears to be Trump's reaction to that. And of course, his reaction was, if the European Union works with Canada in order to do economic harm to the USA, large-scale tariffs far larger than currently planned will be placed on them, both in order to protect the best friend that each of those two countries has ever had. Because apparently the European Union is country number 1. And apparently this is how best friends treat each other. You can't be friends with them. So basically, if I can't have you, no one else can. Right? Very, 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 very unsettling language, to say the least. The press conference, the Q&A does keep on going on, where another journalist tries to get him to put out his strategy up front, and that he gets a little more terse and firm And so, it's like this, I will not, basically saying that I will not be negotiating in public. So, you guys need to stop asking me what it is that the measures are going to be. It says the measures will come down when they come down. And so you consider your moves and then you act. That's his best. So don't ask me what I'm going to do before I do it. You'll know when I do it. Because what's the point? It's a negotiation, right? Somebody was asked him, when you were in Kitchener, you asked the crowd gathered for a majority government and a strong mandate. And can that not be perceived as overconfidence? And he said, no, it's not overconfidence. It's in a time like this, right? If we want to show strength, it would be very helpful to have a very, very strong mandate that comes from the people that I can point to. So not being overconfident, just asking for what it is that I feel that we need to put us in the best position to counter this. So that was a good taking of that question that could have led to something he could have tripped up on, and putting it in a proper frame. And then he was asked again, so you say this is a best of a good, a bad deal? And said yes. And are you sure for that? That's your understanding of it? Yes. No problem with that. And then he was asked again, when you speak to Trump, what are the odds that you might make him backtrack on the auto tariffs? And he said that was indeed a good question. He was asked in French. He didn't have much to say because we don't know what are the odds of that type of thing, but tried to fill the answer with some substance as much as he could there. But he wasn't trying to pivot away from it. It's just an impossible question to answer with a very specific yes or specific number. I think I have 50% chance of, right? I mean, I guess he could have said that too. I mean, 50% chance. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, but we don't know that with this guy here. And then he finished it all with an answer that I will save and show you on another day, which isn't particularly shocking or doesn't have any particular big news, but the answer is so well delivered and so constructed and so thorough that when it's done, you're sitting there and you're thinking, listen, I might not know about all the intricacies of tariffs and all that kind of stuff, but I'm listening to this answer and there's some things here that seem to make sense to me. And the way that he's delivering it with confidence and the way that he's able to expand on the subject and be so precise and give us so much detail really does make me feel that we are in good hands. So overall, it was a good opportunity for him. And that's the thing over the course of this campaign. Every time that IQ 47 is going to pop up and make himself basically a wet blanket that's thrown all over it, it's an opportunity for Mark Carney to show that he's got the stuff that Pierre does not. So while Pierre is talking about adding extra contribution room to your TFSA, Carney's actually acting on his earlier statement earlier in the campaign saying, I believe that plan beats no plan. And clearly he's got a plan. All right, kits and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do, and it really helps us out. So thank you. Now, if you would like to make sure, kits and cubs, that you do not miss an episode of ours, especially in podcast format, well, you don't have to, thanks to the Ray Girl, who sponsors our pod page. Now, to get there, that's podpage.com/TheTrueNorthEagerBeaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go there and click on subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. And the QR code that you can scan, boom, right there, like magic, it has appeared. So I'll just leave it up there for a couple of seconds for those of you who need it. Now, for those of you who would like to support us in other ways, one of the best ways you can do that is by surfing yourself on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where Kits, Cassie, and Elaine would encourage you to smash with our buttons and are telling you that if you smash with them now, if you happen to be watching, you don't have to remember to do it before you leave. That QR code that just appeared will bring you right there. Thank you to whoever scanned us. Thank you so much. that QR code that just appeared will bring you to our YouTube page, where over 14,200 of you have already subscribed. So please click our buttons, like, share, and subscribe. It helps us with the algorithm. And of course, when you click on us, well, we get ourselves a little bit of happy. So thanks so much for that, eh? Now, if you would like to support us in other ways, for example, financially, because we do incur a couple of costs in order to bring the show to you, and we appreciate your generous donations and enthusiastic expressions of support. Well, then we invite you to take a trip to our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And there you can make a nice little donation to us. Now, I'm not sure if I read this one before. I may have, so you may be getting a double shout out here. But we did get from a new listener to our show, saying that they found us through Dean Blundell on X because they were looking for people that could help them be a more informed member of society and that aligns with their views. And they're really happy that they found our YouTube channel and they enjoy it every bit. So thank you, dear anonymous donor, for finding us. We hope that you are very, very, very happy here. And thank you to everybody else who's been scanning. I've seen 3 scans so far. That's very kind of you. So thank you so much for that, your generous donations. Now, if you are not able to donate financially, please do not worry, because the gifts of your attention and participation are the ones that matter the most to us. And we love to hear from you. truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address. Also, if you would like to send us a contribution and not have to go through the CEO tech bros, well, that's your best way to do it. It's a 100% Canadian transaction through your bank. And bonus, we get 100% of your donation. But if you are writing us to let you know what you think about the show, to provide some constructive criticism, guest suggestions, anything of the like, we want to hear from you, and that's the email address at which you do it. You can also do it via social media at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge at TrueEager, or on the Jitter, also at TrueEager, our original home on the web at Facebook. That's our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver there. Or if you happen to be listening on YouTube, right down below in the comments section, just leave us a little something. We read everything, but we're not always able to answer everyone. But every comment that you send us does get factored in, and it adds to making the show better. And we thank you so very much for all that you do to try to make the show better and make the show more known. So appreciate you. We really do. Because democracy is something that you do, remember, this is time if you are looking to be a poll worker. Elections Canada is seeking people to come and work. That's elections.ca is the website. These are paid positions, and everybody should do it at least once. It's really nice to help other people be able to exercise their franchise. You'll see it's a long day. It's good work, but it's very, very rewarding work. You feel very good about yourself. So I highly recommend it. And of course, as well, if you're researching your candidates and you find one that you like, please try to find a way to volunteer and get the word out. And of course, talk about the election. Make sure that you do not vote alone, because friends don't let friends do democracy all alone. Right? Okay. Let's see. Words of wisdom. Kids and cubs, please be very careful with the information that you consume to make sure that it is coming from a credible source. And please do not give your personal details to anyone. Just make sure that you are not being scammed. If it's not a trusted and reliable source with whom you have not dealt with before, and suddenly messages are appearing, particularly with regard to the elections, be very, very leery. And remember, Elections Canada will never, ever, ever, under any circumstance, ever call you. All right. I think that's it, kids and cubs. There will be no Easter egg today because I'm down to 1% on the phone battery. So I will just make sure that I can hopefully stick the landing on the way out. And we will see you on Monday. All right? Be kind to and gentle with yourself.
Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver.
That was not the correct button. Here we go. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.